right, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday recap. Very excited. A crazy day of college football yesterday. We're going to preview the NFL as well. I want to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Blaine Crane, former Western State Colorado wide receiver, and David Cohn, the 6'7" monster, former Heisman candidate, Michigan quarterback. Fellas, how are we doing this morning?
Fantastic.
I'm doing phenomenal, guys. How are y'all doing?
After that day of college football, man.
Trap day. Yesterday was trap day, fellas.
Look, screamed it all week. Screamed it all week. It's the biggest trap weekend of the year. It's basically a Young Jock music concert. When you look at what went down, not only in the Pac-12, we're going to span the globe when it comes to college football, get you ready for the NFL as well. So make sure you throw your questions in the chat. And also, if you want to donate, that's great. But the best way to donate is go to the Daily Wire Plus. Sign up. Become a member if you're not already. And it's a great Christmas present for dad, mom, the kids. Hell, the dog will even enjoy it. You get him an insider pass, come little all access.
Yeah, it's 2022. Dogs matter.
Yeah, we'll throw a tennis ball at the screen for an hour. But, guys, I want to go ahead and jump into this bad boy because there was a lot going on yesterday, and it's amazing how in college football, how a day can start and then how it can finish. If you were a Tennessee fan, with about 6.5 minutes to go in that Baylor game, and with about a quarter left to go in that Michigan game, you were feeling about as good as you possibly could about your team making the playoff. And then fast forward, literally half an hour later, and then at about 9 o'clock, and Tennessee fans were probably walking around the city just looking at each other, wondering what happened. And we're going to get to the absolute bludgeoning in South Carolina. I think Spencer Rattler, I may have hurt his feelings by saying the only chance he had to get drafted was if there was World War III. But, guys, I want to start with USC and UCLA. A game in which, and I watched a little bit more this morning, I want to give credit to USC. But if you look at not only the USC-UCLA game, but the Utah-Oregon game, it was a battle of which quarterback wasn't going to turn the ball over. And if you look at DTR, 3 interceptions. If you look at Cam Rising, turned it over 3 times. But it seemed to me, guys, that UCLA could not get to Caleb Williams. And when somebody would finally get to him, he'd be able to escape, and guys were running wide open. And even with those 3 turnovers, UCLA still had a chance at the end. DTR didn't see the safety leaking on the backside on the crosser, literally threw it right to him. The question is, guys, USC controls their own destiny, in my opinion. But after watching that game, where do you guys have USC right now?
I'll tell you where I have them. I actually have them 5th right now. I have them 5th. I don't know how you don't. I mean, they're sitting here. They're 10-1. Their only loss is at Utah by a 2-point conversion by 1 point. I mean, there's no we can sit here and say, oh well, I don't think that they would beat this team, or man, that defense is giving up a lot of points. I don't care. Right now, I have them 5th. It was a fantastic football game. It came down to the wire, just like we thought it would. And when push came to shove, the best player on the field, Caleb Williams, showed up and balled, and their defense stepped up to the occasion and stopped and created turnovers against a really good UCLA team. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah. Blaine, where do you have?
I'd probably have them in the same rank. And you kind of go back, and if we go back verbatim, if we were talking about this game the other day, it's exactly what we thought it would happen, right? High-scoring game. Everybody knew it's going to be a high-scoring game. If you believe in either of these defenses to be an elite defense or even above-average defense, they're not going to be that. We knew the over was going to hit in this game, but I knew it was going to be close, and I knew late. The one thing USC had going for them is the defense that you're not going to stop anybody, at least turn people over. And that defense turns people over. I think Caleb Williams, after that performance, is probably the front runner for the Heisman. I mean, the guy's absolute a superstar. You see what they have. Good to see Jordan Addison back. But, yeah, does USC make the gauntlet run? Because I think they're going to go play a Notre Dame team who's probably playing the best football they're playing all year. Then they're going to get the Pac-12 champion. So it's going to be interesting with that game. But if you talk about Oregon, Utah, Cam Rising just is making mistakes this year in clutch moments he didn't make last year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the difference to that team. But good to see Bo Nix get that dub.
Yeah, but Bo Nix battled through it. And guys, I watching the broadcast last night, and I put this out on social media. And look, I got a lot of respect for Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt was a hell of a player, and I agree with some of what he thinks. But about the middle of the game, they started talking and almost clowning the SEC for LSU playing UAB and Alabama playing Austin Peay. Kind of the cupcake week a little bit going into rivalry week on the back end. And I'm sitting there listening to Joel talk about this while I look at USC and UCLA and these other teams out of conference schedule, just like, dude, what are you talking about? Your proctologist probably has to work overtime. You're so ass hurt about all this SEC stuff. Like, man, I'm sorry the SEC's won 13 out of 19. I'm sorry Colorado's hot dog water right now. I'm sorry they dominate the draft. But Alabama went and played Texas. Alabama played Florida State. Who the hell did USC play? Coming into this game, their best win was against a team called the Beavers. Like, yeah, I'm just sick of watching Joe Klatt and these guys. I mean, Joe Klatt, again, better than RJ Young and some of these other guys. It's not to that level. But, dude, like, it's okay to tell the truth. Like, I get it. You got to go on Big Fox Noon, and you and Cowherd, who I got a lot of respect for, are out there trying to pump up the West Coast. And that's great. And that's great. If you're going to make fun of somebody for something, though, at least make it make sense. Look at strength of record. It's not even close. Look at the overall record of USC's who they played. It's like, what was it when we looked at the other, like 56 and 67? Like, it's not even a winning record. So that part to me just frustrates me. That's the part that's frustrating. Not that USC isn't a good team, not that UCLA isn't a good team. But you know what? When I played when you have to play 8 SEC games, okay, in the best conference in the world, and then you're playing the Florida States, and then you're playing teams that are good out of conference, like we see in the Chick-fil-A kickoff, it just blows my mind. Strength of schedule is not a good argument. But I do want to say, I think USC right now, to be honest with you guys, I got them at 4.
Over who?
I look at TCU. That defense, to me, got smushed yesterday. I don't think they could get to Caleb Williams. I don't think TCU could get to Caleb Williams. I don't think they could outscore USC. When it comes down to it, I look at Clemson. How many points could that DJU offense really put up in relation to what Caleb Williams could do against that Clemson defense? Because all you got to do is score 35, really.
But don't you think you can't really make the rankings based off what you think would happen in the future? You have to go off what's already happened, and TCU is an undefeated Power 5 team.
Yes. And again, it's probably splitting hairs between TCU and USC. But when I'm looking at because I have TCU in there as well at 3. I mean, how do you not have TCU in there? Because again,
you have TCU at 3 and Southern Cal at 4?
I'm talking about Michigan and Ohio State play each other, David. Somebody's going to lose that game. I'm looking
but they haven't yet,
if we're going just off today, it's obviously Georgia. Then it's Ohio State, which part of me wants to put Michigan at 2, to be honest with you. It's Georgia. It's Ohio State. It's Michigan, it's TCU, but Ohio State and Michigan are going to play each other, and they're not going to tie. So I'm trying to look forward and project what's going to happen. So if Ohio State loses, for example, Georgia's going to be number 1. I don't think LSU is going to beat Georgia right now. I don't see Georgia slipping up against Georgia Tech, who absolutely just destroyed any hopes that North Carolina had of anything. But after that Ohio State-Michigan game, after Tennessee lost, I would put USC at 4, just looking at how it's going to be. Obviously, right now, we can sit here and say, yeah, Ohio State and Michigan's at 2, but one of them is going to lose. So it's going to come down to that 4th spot. Man, I got USC over Clemson if they can win the Pac-12, because I think the Pac-12 is better than the ACC.
I do too right now, and I have Clemson at 6. Look, the 2 biggest winners from yesterday were Clemson and Southern Cal. Sure. Back to the Joe Klatt point too. Yeah, I was surprised that he said that. I do think Joe Klatt is 50% right. There's no way, there's no scenario where Alabama should be playing Austin Peay. Period. The only thing is the other 50% of it is Joe Klatt didn't want to point out that he's calling a USC game where they opened with Rice. Like, are you going to really sit there and say that Alabama shouldn't be playing Austin Peay, but it's okay for Southern Cal to open with Rice, or it's okay for Michigan to play Hawaii and UConn and MAC schools? That's the problem that I had with his comments.
Yeah, well, but what I do like about that game is, I mean, it is a big money game for Austin Peay. And to be honest with you, that was kind of a game for a little bit. I mean, look at UMass and Texas A&M, which I don't even want to get into how I actually watched a quarter and a half of that game. And it was so bad. I don't know how much any of you watched it. I know it was raining. I know it was nasty, but watching UMass shut down Texas A&M's run game was disgusting. But Blaine, when you look at the scheduling and how it goes, and you know what, I think a great example, I think a place where maybe we can agree, Cone, is playing a UAB. I think
UAB, yes. That, like, I have no problem LSU playing UAB. Like, that's a great program. That's a great game to play. I'm just saying, as far as it relates to Austin Peay, we only get 12 of these. This isn't college basketball. You can schedule, 80, or, the NBA, you can schedule 80 games a year. We only get 12 of these. And I know that Alabama and other schools in the SEC West are already running through the most difficult schedule in the country. I understand that. But when you only get 12 of these, I don't want to see an Alabama home game where Bryant-Denny Stadium is half empty. That's frustrating.
Like host Western Kentucky, play a Conference USA. I'm totally with that, kind of like Auburn did yesterday. But I just, again, kind of like you alluded to, I thought it was a little hypocritical because, again, I know Rice is played decently at points this year, but that is a really bad football team. And it'd be different if USC had played Florida State to start the year. But that doesn't mean that USC is not a good football team. I have them at 4 right now. And, hey, Mike H., I can tell you're in the chat, bro, the SEC is better than the Pac-12, man. Like, I don't know another way to tell you this, dog.
Well, yeah, look at the records from this year.
It's not even close.
In the SEC undefeated versus the Pac-12 this year?
Yeah, I believe so. Georgia,
Utah lost to a Florida team that just lost to Vanderbilt. And I don't mind Alabama scheduling Austin Peay in the week before rivalry week after you just went through an absolute gauntlet of a schedule through the SEC. And you went and your out of conference was you went and played at a Texas team week 2. So no, I do not mind that. I don't want to hear anybody talking about a Pac-12 schedule out of schedule to an SEC schedule when you're walking into last week, I think week 10, before you walk into usually one of the most physical weeks of SEC football, and that's rivalry week. So I know Joel Klatt will die. It's almost politics. It gets to a point where it's funny. It doesn't matter if you have the facts on your side or if you don't have the facts on your side, you will just say the complete opposite thing enough to where you try to ring it true. So Joel Klatt will die on any hill he wants to die on without even the facts. He has a deep hate he's always hated the SEC. Doesn't matter what it is, he's always hated the SEC. He has been butthurt about this for as long as I remember. So I don't listen to anything Joel Klatt says when it comes down to the SEC because he's always going to take the other side.
Yeah, and I'll sit here and tell you, USC would have a legitimate chance to do some things in the SEC. Oregon, I think would do well in the SEC. I look at the whole thing evenly. I'm not coming into it saying, well, regardless of how it looks, the SEC is going to be the best. Again, when you look at the numbers, okay, and you'll look at the NFL draft this year, it's going to be the same thing. But let's go ahead and get to the chat line.
Okay, let's go. We have a donation from Steve's Action Figure Frenzy, $10 donation. What's up, Steve? Says, even though OSU won by 10+, give praise to Maryland for the way they played after getting trounced last week. Maryland brought their A game to OSU. It's a few ball bounces the other way. Could be an upset.
Yeah, Tone, I felt like Maryland was out of that game like 2 or 3 different times, and then they'd come storming back to make it a game. When I look at Ohio State, and obviously you got Michigan on the horizon, and you look at Michigan playing Illinois, that was a tough game in general. Illinois is not a bad football team at all, and it wasn't a great matchup. But when I look at Maryland, I was surprised at how well Maryland was able to stop the run. Again, look, Ohio State, I don't know who can stop Ohio State passing the ball when C.J. Stroud has time with those wide receivers, with Ibuka and JNS, and I know JNS has been beat up, but Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know how you stop it. But I thought Maryland did a good job of trying to make Ohio State one-dimensional. And then on the offensive side, were you surprised, David, at how much time Maryland, not only the quarterback had, but it seemed like they had holes. They were able to stalemate up front and kind of do what they wanted a little bit. How much did that surprise you?
Not really, because I saw young Talua Tagovailoa do the same thing in the Big House against Michigan. That's why I took Maryland to go on the road to Wisconsin, at least keep that game close, which they didn't. That's what surprised me. Was to watch a Mike Locksley-led team not do well last week. I was a little bit surprised that the Buckeyes didn't win bigger and didn't have the game in control. But the fact that a Mike Locksley-led team, who was the OC at Alabama, with young Tua here, the younger brother, the fact that they're finding holes in a defense, that doesn't surprise me at all. The narrative here will be that the Buckeyes and the Wolverines both looked past their opponents and they were looking ahead to next week, and perhaps there was an element of that, but I just think Illinois and Maryland came in and played really good football games. I mean, these are good football teams. Again, you can look everywhere across the country at every single conference. That these are 18 to 22-year-old young men who are going out there on the football field any given Saturday. Any team can win a football game. We saw it with South Carolina yesterday. Any team can keep it close. So, hats off to Maryland. And then, hey, with a 3-point game with 40 seconds left, what do the Buckeyes figure out a way to do? Still win by double digits. I don't know. It really is incredible what they're doing.
Yeah, and going to that Illinois-Michigan game, I watched this game from start to finish. J.J. McCarthy came out and was cooking. I loved the way Harbaugh was on the script early, the things that they were doing off the play-action game, moving him around, boots, waggles, things of that nature. But Illinois, I'm telling you guys, Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator for Illinois, and we've talked about this all year, is one of my favorite young up-and-coming coaches. He's able to adjust that defense against teams that are able to throw the ball around well, teams that are able to kind of try and get there and turn it into a scrum. And Illinois, that game went exactly like how we talked about on Keys to Victory for Illinois to have a chance to win on Friday. It was ugly. It was low scoring. It was a game that was truly run to pass, and it didn't have a ton of huge home run plays. Now, Blake Corum came out there and hit that big run early. They were moving it. They took the ball down the field, and you're like, all right, Michigan's about to run these guys out of the gym. But I was really impressed with the way that Tommy DeVito and that offense was able to not just turn around and hand it off to Chase Brown every time and hope for success. He was able to throw it well enough to open it up for Chase Brown. And then Blake Corum goes down. And this is where I think you see the identity of the Michigan team. And I think J.J. McCarthy said it best in the interview after the game. We trust all 143 guys in that locker room. It doesn't matter who's out there, if it's the first string guy or the fourth string guy, we trust them. And when Blake Corum went down, Michigan could have went down with it. They had every excuse in the world. Illinois is playing the best game of their lives. Our best player is hurt. To me, I thought Michigan, Mike Morris is out. Michigan did what they had to do at the end. And I know it was ugly, and I know it wasn't, it was a sweat totally. But I thought Jim Harbaugh, too, from a coaching decision standpoint, it was a brilliant call to kick that field goal with about 3.5 minutes to go and 3 timeouts, because you knew that Brett Bielema was going to run that thing 3 times. And if they wanted to throw it on third down, you'd probably be able to stop them. I thought Michigan showed a lot of guts. I thought they showed a lot of fortitude. People will talk about the pick play, and you can say whatever you want. It never comes down to one call. And if you're blaming the refs, winners don't blame the refs. Let's be honest. I don't think that game came down to that one play. I think it shows you that identity that Michigan has. And do we have an update on Blake Corum at all, Code? Do you know?
No, he did come in the second half. He had 1 rush for 5 yards. If you've completely shattered your ACL, you don't come back in, and you're not on the bike and you don't rush for 5 yards. Could he still have damaged it enough to where he's done for the year? Yes. Could he damage it enough to where he's not going to play next week against Michigan's biggest rival? Yes. What I heard from a friend last night inside the program is that there is no structural damage. Okay. And then
That's
when
huge.
he came back in the second half, he was cleared to play. Now, why he only, ran 1 time and then sat out the rest of the game, I'm not too sure. But on the Michigan side of things, let's just start with the good. You won the football game. You won the football game and you moved to 11-0. I mean, that is a statement in and of itself. Past that, with most of Michigan's best players out, with Mike Morris on the defensive side of the ball out, starting tight end out, Blake Corum goes down, second string running back Donovan Edwards out. I don't know why all those guys didn't play. I don't know if Michigan thought that they could just show up and beat an Illinois team. Jake, we talked about it all week. If you're Michigan, don't assume you can't lose this football game. I don't know what the status is going to be for some of those top players next week. Obviously, that'll be a storyline that we're going to dive into in tomorrow's show and throughout the week. But I told you guys a few weeks ago, Michigan is 1 Blake Corum injury away from being an above average football team. And a lot of people pushed back on that and said, no, with that offensive line, anybody can just tote the rock for Michigan. I think we saw in the second half yesterday that that's not the case. And when you force J.J. McCarthy to go win the football game for Michigan, it's tough for him to do so. Now, he made enough plays. The 4th down play was huge there near the end of the game, but there were still a lot of missed throws and a lot of missed reads, Jake, like we were talking about on the zone read. Reed. The reason J.J. McCarthy won the starting job over Cade McNamara in large part was because of what he can do in the run game. Not only designed runs, but scrambling, throwing on the move, and then huge, that zone read as people start to stack the box and you scrape with defensive end or you scrape with robber linebackers off to stop Blake Corum in the run game. He has to pull that. He missed a few more of those yesterday, which I think could have resulted in first downs. We have one of the best field goal kickers in the country. Jake Moody hitting 4 field goals, won the football game for us. That's great. You're not going to beat Georgia like that. You're not going to beat the Buckeyes like that. You have to score touchdowns in the red zone.
Well, the thing right now with Blake Corum, the best Blake's going to feel was the second half of that game. All right. Your juices are still flowing.
Sure.
You're warm. That's the best you're going to feel before the week starts. All right. So these next couple of days is when you really find out if you're going to be able to go during the weekend. And if Michigan plays anywhere close to what they played against Illinois, they will not beat this Ohio State team. J.J. McCarthy, because of this game, if both these teams, when it comes to Michigan, I know we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but if Michigan stops the run and Ohio State stops the run, then you have to put your eggs in the Ohio State basket. After what I saw from McCarthy yesterday, and I know the winds were probably kicking, but the winds are always kicking up there. He made some throws late, but he's going to have to make throws in that Ohio State game that he missed at Illinois. And that's going to be for damn sure the way that Ohio State offense is playing. But Blake needs to be in this game. All right. He needs to be in this game. He is this Michigan offense because if Michigan run the ball, they have a chance in any game. But if they can't run the ball and it becomes a track meet against Ohio State, they won't win that game at all. So I'm going to go to the Ethan Sam. What's up, man? Hashtag Ask Crane & Company. Can we get a shout-out for Lafayette College winning the 158th rivalry game? Congrats, Lafayette.
Yes, Lafayette. Congrats, guys.
All right, let's go to David S. Hashtag Ask Crane & Company. What's the chances you give LSU to beat Georgia? A few weeks ago, I would have said that LSU is going to get destroyed. However, Georgia has looked vulnerable at times, so who knows? What do y'all think?
When I look at that Kentucky game, and again, this is just the natural order of things. Kentucky was unbelievably embarrassed losing to Vanderbilt, which shout out Vanderbilt beating Kentucky and Florida back to back. I don't know what's going on, man. But when you look at that Kentucky game, you knew Kentucky was going to come out and try and resurrect themselves or find redemption against Georgia. What's the best way to put to bed a terrible loss against Vanderbilt? Go and beat the number 1 team in the country. And I thought defensively, they fought about as hard as they possibly could. I mean, it was 3-0 after the first quarter, 6-0, I think, at halftime, 9-0 in the second quarter. Will Levis, I'm just saying, and look, Wan'Dale Robinson's not there. They don't have a ton of weapons on the outside. Chris Rodriguez is a good bet. But Will Levis couldn't come through when they had to have him. You know, Mel Kiper's top quarterback overall, Will Levis, just threw up a donut at home when you had chances. I know they ended up losing 16-6, but I don't think that's a game. When you look at the way that Georgia played with the weather up there, with kind of the way Monken called it really close to the vest, once Todd realized that it was going to be very, very tough for Kentucky to score, it's almost like he said, you know what, guys? We're not going to beat ourselves. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're not going to give them the opportunity to get back in this game because of a mistake that we made. McIntosh went over 100 yards for the first time in his career at Georgia, and it looked to me like they knew Kentucky couldn't move the ball. That game last year, outside of Georgia maybe scoring a touchdown or two late, that game last night looked a lot like last year. Looked a lot like last year in a couple games where they just smothered somebody on defense and said, Stetson, who's now referred to as the milkman, just don't screw it up for us, bud. Look, LSU, the question you asked LSU, what chances do they have to beat Georgia? LSU is going to have it's not like they have no chance, but you're going to have a performance almost like you saw South Carolina against Tennessee last night. You're going to have to play way above your head, and you're going to have to hope that they don't play as well as they possibly can. Because, number one, it's indoors. Okay, you're not going to have any problems with wind or anything like that or cold or anything like that. Jayden Daniels is going to have to continue to run at a very high rate. There's no way, in my opinion, that LSU wins this game if Jayden Daniels rushes for less than 100 yards. But Georgia's so athletic. They're so fast. Jalen Carter and Malachi Starks and all those guys are so good at hemming up really talented players. I find it hard to see where LSU is going to be able to consistently score unless it's Jayden Daniels hitting home runs down the field or running it with his legs. I don't think they're going to be able to methodically move the ball and stay out of 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. Then on the flip side of that, LSU, while they have shown improvement defensively, This game has Brock Bowers written all over it.
Yeah, Kirby Smart does such a great job of identifying the tone of a football game early and then making the necessary decisions to win the game based off that sort of tone that's being set. Florida in the second half comes back, pushes them, gets to within 8, feels like it needs to be a little bit of a shootout. So what do? Georgia ends up winning that game 42-20. Missouri late on the road, you're down, you need to come back from behind. They do that. This one right here, Kirby Smart said, we're fine winning a game 16-6. We're fine. That's great. That's a road win in the SEC. Move on. So as it relates to LSU, I don't know, being indoors, it's going to be in Atlanta for the SEC championship. Let Jaden Daniels run around a little bit more. That defensive line is going to be even more crucial for Georgia. I don't know what the line is on that. Blaine, have you seen a line for the SEC championship yet?
No, I have not, but it'll probably be Georgia. I would think probably more than 8.
I was thinking
I
8
would think more than
too.
possession, because you look at I'm trying to look at this from a matchup standpoint for LSU. What are we excited about? All right.
Yeah.
What do we feel good about? What's our day one? We're going to go in there and do this. Run the ball? Not going to work. Between the tackles, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. Those things running around, you have the number 1 pick. Jalen Carter's the number 1 pick. All right.
Sure.
If it's not a quarterback, he's the number 1 D lineman to come off the board, especially after the year he's having. All right. Jalen Daniels, we're going to push the ball down the field. Well, don't feel great about that. You got Malachi Starks, you got Ringo at corner. You can try to think in the run game, but I just don't think Jalen Daniels is going to be able to outrun the Georgia defense. All right. I just don't think it's going to happen. And then let's flip the side in Kentucky. And I know this game was close, but Georgia, the first 3 drives, got 3 field goals. All right. That's a great job by Kentucky. If anything, you have to limit Georgia in the red zone. That's how you stay in the game. They're going to move the ball with the witches they have, Stetson, Stequavius, and then you go to McConkey, the Haru, the great white witch. And then they're starting to run the ball. Then you got Brock Bowers. So LSU, I really don't like the matchup for these guys. Obviously, there's always a chance for him to win a game, but I just don't see how they're going to win.
Well, I want to give you a stat, too. Listen how crazy this is. And I tweeted at Oklahoma fans that have been panicking and Miami fans that are panicking. Kirby Smart started out 7-5 his first year at Georgia. And I believe he is 80-10 since then.
Jeez.
Just 80-10. You remember Nick Saban started out like lost to Louisiana Monroe and like Helen Keller State, and then just
they're pretty good that year.
Anymore. Then they got Julio Jones, and it's like, all right, we have the best team forever. So it's amazing to see what Kirby has done. Looking around the rest of the league, guys, as we're kind of in the SEC, Vanderbilt beats Florida when Anthony Richardson throws for 400 yards. You had the drop punt for a touchdown. You had the big interception late. Everything went Vanderbilt's way. And there's a couple things I want to say. I'm starting to think I really am in a coma, or I'm in the Matrix, and it's for this reason. Okay, I moved to Georgia last year, living in Marietta.
Mm-hmm.
The Braves win the World Series, and Georgia wins the first national championship in 40 years. We move to Tennessee, up to Nashville. Tennessee comes up from the depths for the first time in a while. They're ranked number 1 in the country. And Vanderbilt is 4-6 with back-to-back wins over Kentucky and Florida. Am I in the Matrix? I'm really starting to actually get worried. Like, everything's going too good right now. Like,
one word.
Does anybody else feel me there? But when I was watching the Vandy game, it got me thinking. Georgia's had a hell of a year. LSU's had a hell of a year. How is Clark Lee not the coach of the year in the SEC? How is he not the SEC coach of the year? I'm dead serious. This is no joke. I mean, guys, let's be honest. You're out there beating guys with Boy Scout leaders.
Vandy's first home win against Florida since 1988, boys.
Wow.
Look, for some reason, I can just only credit myself. I think I'm the reason why it takes what belief, right? Little Ted Lasso, slap it on the top. Belief, right? And what else do you have? What else do they have, Jake? Tell me what they have.
A good time.
Expectations.
No, I think that's why they win, because they don't have
Clark Lee, Professor X, hitting the gritty in the locker room after the game, coming out, beating Florida. AR-15, you're getting drafted. You can't even beat Vanderbilt. Then let's go to Will Levis. Will Levis had a 16 QBR versus Vandy. 16.
Yeah, it's not
I know
good.
A kid with no arms could have a better QBR. Vanderbilt is slowly turning into a what? a problem.
A
All right,
problem.
an absolute problem. And if Vandy and Auburn played right now, let's be real.
I thought you were ready
real.
to kick Vanderbilt out of the SEC.
If that game's at Vandy,
last summer,
I'm going
Blaine.
money line.
No, I'm still okay with that, David. I'm still okay with that. Look, I mean, you got to continue to show it to me. If somebody wants to come over here for Oregon, somebody wants to come over here. I mean, look, sorry, sometimes the side chick overtakes the main squeeze.
You can't kick Vandy out.
Blaine, you wanted to kick them out.
Yeah, you
Not
did.
anymore.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Not
Okay.
anymore. Now it's
Okay.
changed. Now
Now
it's
it's
changed.
changed.
I'm glad we figured that out. Good.
Let's go to DY's 1888. All right, here we go. I was waiting for South Carolina fans to get in here a little bit.
Yep.
$63 donation. DY's appreciate it, brother.
Ooh.
And he says, how about them Gamecocks? Spencer Rattler, this is Spencer Rattler to a T, right? Consistency. That's what he hadn't had. Played mediocre the whole season and has the best game of his life versus Tennessee.
If I'm a South Carolina fan right now, it's almost like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. On one hand, I am ecstatic. What a huge win for the program. What a huge win for recruiting. Obviously against a very talented Tennessee team. Then on the other shoulder, I'm like, where in the hell has this been the whole year? I mean, South Carolina looked like the Globonauts last night. I mean, it was Spencer Rattler threw for 6 touchdowns. He had more picks than touchdowns coming in this game. And it's almost you're happy, but it's kind of a happy pissed. Like a mad happy. I don't know a better way to explain it. Because you're wondering, Marcus Satterfield, some people said he didn't call the plays last night. I'm going to find that out today. But that atmosphere, and I've coached there, against them there, and it's nuts. They get the towels going. I mean, that place is the whole city's litty. South Carolina played as good as they possibly could play last night. I don't think they could play any better. I know on offense they couldn't have played any better. And what they did with Jaheim Bell, I mean, I'm watching them move Jaheim Bell around. You talk about improving your NFL draft stock. Marshawn Lloyd was out of that game for South Carolina. Boys, I had the over at 63.5, and after 10 minutes through the first quarter, I was like, this is going to get murdered. This is going to get absolutely smashed. I think it goes to show you, Shane Beamer and I had South Carolina going 5-7, 6-6, somewhere around that this year, and they've got to go to Clemson. I really, really doubt that they're going to play that well on the road at Clemson. But this was one of those wins for Shane Beamer that when you're on the trail in the offseason, when you're trying to close on signing day, when it comes down to you and the perennial big dogs in the SEC are on the outside, or you're trying to go get that guy from the transfer portal, this is that game you point to and say, we're on the way. We're on the way. And I think it was a great moment for South Carolina fans. It's been so up and down and choppy. I think it caught all of them by surprise. I went on our buddy Chris Phillips, the Spurs Up Show, this week on Friday. And, I mean, we were like, look, so many things have to go right for South Carolina, and so many things have to go wrong for Tennessee for them to be able to win this game. Not only did they win this game, they destroyed Tennessee in this game. And I hate to see what happened to Hendon Hooker, but you got to take your hat off to South Carolina.
Man, this was Shane Beamer's signature win, boys. And now, just like you said, imagine him, already a great recruiter, going out on the trail, being able to hoist this top 5 win. I mean, this guy, Shane Beamer, recruited me at Mississippi State. I almost committed to Mississippi State just because Shane Beamer is such a great recruiter. And now you add something like this into the mix. If you showed me the 30 for 37, 438 yards through there, 6 touchdowns and no pick stat line after the game, I would have said, man, Hendon Hooker had a great ball game.
Yeah, exactly
he may have moved ahead. He's
exactly
locking up
right.
the Heisman Trophy now. No, this doesn't make Spencer Rattler a top 5 quarterback in the country. But it shows you what we've always said about him. The potential is there. It's not his talent that's the problem. It's his mindset. This proves more than anything that Shane Beamer is the type of coach who can not only bring in great players, but who can get the most out of them and develop them. Now, what Spencer Rattler's future is with South Carolina, I don't know. I think that he would do well to come back and continue this sort of success. But let me ask you this, guys. South Carolina, after this huge win, you go on the road to Clemson. I said Clemson from yesterday was one of the biggest winners because now they get to say, hey, we're a 1-loss ACC team and we could be a 1-loss ACC champion if we take care of business. 40-game home win streak at Clemson. South Carolina now goes on the road. Any shot that Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks can duplicate this success next weekend?
L. It's an L. I don't want to let's not South Carolina has one great game and think that they're just going to walk in and beat teams. Let's really go through this. I think this game was more about Tennessee. If anything, Tennessee didn't even show up. I mean, their defense got ran through like a finish line. I understand you're not the best defense in the world, but this was last year Tennessee I saw yesterday. That's what I saw. Defense had no idea. One stopping the run, one stopping the pass, giving up big plays. I mean, your offense isn't going to – the three's not always going to be going in, all right? It's not. It's your offense. You're not going to shoot 90% every time, but you had everything in your hands, right? Had everything in your hands, and you went there and you blew it, right? You blew it against a mediocre South Carolina team. You can go to South Carolina fans. Hell, they even tell them you're mediocre, and it wasn't close. And that's what the embarrassing thing about it. If it was close and you lost, I can understand it's on the road. I get it. But you got swamped. You got swamped after everyone in the nation was what? Tennessee, including myself. Tennessee, fourth best, realistically, fourth best team. Not even close. You got to give it to TCU now. But what an embarrassing performance.
Yeah, if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm left scratching my head because it's not like you're looking forward to oh no, we looked ahead to Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what happened. It just, like you said, Blaine, is they showed up and thought they could roll their helmets out there and that South Carolina would lose it or they didn't have to play their A game. And that's learning as you go along. Again, it's not a loss if there's a lesson. I think there's a lot that Tennessee, those younger guys, the guys are going to bring in recruiting, Josh Heupel himself, that can get from this game. To me, when I look at the defensive performance, they were very base in what they did. And South Carolina was running the same plays over and over again. If you notice that. They hit two big plays down the field. They basically just ran mesh with the deep end behind it and a post over the top to take the safety. And it was wide open twice. Like there were times where the linebackers weren't even getting depth in their drop. And that creates a huge gap in between the safeties and the linebackers. It just blew my mind to watch that. But now, if you look at USC, obviously that's not South Carolina, but the USC out west, that's huge for them now that Tennessee is out. I mean, because I'm looking at TCU again, guys. I don't want to change the subject too much. I'm starting to think USC has a better chance to win out than TCU does. I'm really starting to believe that, as crazy as that sounds. But when it comes to Tennessee, you had your opportunities, and South Carolina outplayed you. South Carolina wanted that game more than Tennessee wanted that game. At the end of the day, it just is what it is.
One more word for Tennessee fans here. This hurts. The reason this hurts so much is because we're only a few weeks removed from having the conversation. Is this Tennessee team legendary? We're like, is this Tennessee team like a 2019 LSU team? Because I was on that train as well. You beat Nick Saban for the first time in his tenure, and it was close. I understand that. But then you go on the road, you blow out an LSU team in Baton Rouge who's about to, who has the West locked up. They're going to play in the SEC championship. But despite the fact that this hurts so much because of the ceiling that was there for Tennessee this season, they're still looking down the barrel at a 10-win season in Josh Heupel's second year. This is a program, we're only a few years removed here from NCAA sanctions, a team that since the 90s has really been struggling to even find a head coach since Philip Fulmer to step in there and really lead the charge. If you're a Tennessee fan, you have to be ecstatic about a 10-win season in Josh Heupel's second year, and you can still grow off this.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, again, if Tennessee fans are upset about the season, imagine if you talk to yourself before the season. That's always how you look at it. If future Tennessee fan had talked to present Tennessee fan before the season, how happy would present Tennessee fan be with 10-2 and a win over Alabama and Florida? I think they would take it in spades, guys. I think they'd take it in spades. But another game that was surprising to some people was watching Arkansas absolutely beat Ole Miss to death. I mean, that game, and look, all week, we knew these were two running teams. We knew KJ was going to play, but how effective was KJ Jefferson going to be? Was he going to be full bore effective, or was he going to be Liberty effective, where he's really not that big of a factor? He's more of a decoy. Well, it wasn't just on the ground. That game from the start to the finish, and Ole Miss fans have talked about the officiating, but if you go back and look at those calls, I mean, most of them were right. They were. It was the right call. So when I look at Ole Miss as a team and Jackson Dart, he continues to not see linebackers in pass coverage. And we have just hammered it and hammered it and hammered it and hammered it. He continues not to see it. Or nickels that are rolled down, or safeties that are rolled down. It's like the intermediate passing game. He doesn't see guys. So when I look at this game in totality, Arkansas dominated in every aspect. But it seemed to me, guys, like once it started falling off a cliff for Ole Miss's defense, they could never get it back. It was like every 3rd and 7 Arkansas was hitting. Every 3rd and 9 Arkansas was hitting. They could not get off the field defensively. That surprised me more than anything in that weather after watching the way that Arkansas and LSU played. Now, I know KJ didn't play and Arkansas had their backup quarterback in, but, at least LSU's defense was able to get off the field on 3rd down. How shocked were you, David, by the final score of this game and kind of how it went down with everything that's going on with the Lane Kiffin and the Auburn situation?
I'll tell you what I was shocked by. I can't remember the last time I've seen a team rush for 463 and lose the football game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what else I can't remember seeing. The last time a team had 200-yard rushers the way Ole Miss did, and Quinshawn Judkins with 214 on the ground, and Zach Evans with 207 on the ground, and neither one of them were the leading rushers in the game. Raheem Sanders had 232 and 3 TDs on the Arkansas side, averaging 9.7 yards a carry. And then also, while we're at it, 2 teams rushing for those amount of yards, 463 and 335 respectively, and it still turned out to be a 42-27 football game. Those are some things that were shocked for me. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, obviously there's been a lot of smoke about Lane Kiffin potentially going to Auburn. Maybe he's already signed the paperwork. How much of this loss for Ole Miss is the distraction that news has been this previous week, and how much of it is the fact that we always knew Ole Miss's schedule this season was going to be back heavy?
Look, when you're out there playing and the bullets are flying, for the players, and this, David and Blaine, I mean, you're not thinking about Lane going somewhere else. It would affect the prep more than anything. But I don't know if Lane Kiffin would have come out the day before and said, "Hey, I'm staying." Could they have stopped Rocket Sanders or KJ Jefferson? Mm-hmm. It was such a dominating performance on both sides, like you talked about, on the ground. But it just seemed to me that Arkansas up front, and I know Ole Miss moved the ball on the ground and things like this. So Arkansas didn't make the mistakes up front that Ole Miss made. They didn't make the mistakes in the turnover game that Ole Miss made. They didn't have opportune penalties after big plays to negate plays. That was the difference. We always talk about most teams lose games. They don't win them. I feel like Arkansas won this game, but Ole Miss did not help themselves out at all. It's kind of like going back and looking at UCLA and Utah, right? It's the teams that make mistakes that don't win the games, especially in games where the margin for error is very small, or the teams are kind of even when it comes to talent. Because Ole Miss and Arkansas, while Arkansas has been decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball, from a playmaker standpoint, there's some similarities there with Rocket Sanders and a dual threat quarterback, and you got some guys that can extend it down the field. You look at Hazelwood from Arkansas, Trey Knox at tight end, obviously Mingo from Ole Miss, and Judkins and Zach Evans, who's really good out of the backfield catching the ball. I thought it was a decently even matchup, but Ole Miss made the big-time mistakes at the wrong times. And when you do that, especially on the road in a conference like this, in a game like this, because, again, for Arkansas, not much left for them to do. They're trying to get bowl eligible. Now they are. Obviously, this was their Super Bowl after the way they played against LSU last week. And they treated it like that, and they didn't make those mistakes. So to answer your question, maybe a little bit in the prep, but I think once the bullets started flying, it really didn't matter. Arkansas just didn't make the mistakes that Ole Miss did.
I mean, yeah, for sure it's a distraction. There's no way, even if your players, that's not in the back of your head. And let's not sit here and act like Lane Kiffin doesn't have a deal sitting on his desk, and he's had that deal probably for a couple of days now that he could come out and sign and clear up the air, especially before that game started. So does it play into a factor? Yes. Am I surprised by this outcome? No. Ole Miss defense has been mediocre at best all year. And this is what Ole Miss is, right? They've never really been like, our defense is going to be great. They'll have a great offense, but defense can't compare. It never really have. I mean, you have over 700 total yards of offense and lose. I mean, that is disgusting at best. But if anything is a distraction, yeah, I think it is. I don't know how it can't be. It has to be in the fans' heads, has to be in the players' heads. But there's one person who could have fixed it, right? If he really wanted to fix it, and that's Lane Kiffin. He has probably a $10 million deal sitting on his desk. So does it play a factor? Of course it plays a factor. These are college kids.
Well, in the prep maybe, but I don't think on that touchdown run or that touchdown pass when that left tackle set back that when the guy beat him, he was like, you know what? Lane's probably not coming back, so I'm gonna hold him. I don't think like that. That's you. If Ole Miss would have showed up and played as bad on offense as they did on defense, I would agree with you. But you literally just said that's who Ole Miss is. So how on one hand can you say that's who Ole Miss is, and on the other hand say they were distracted?
Because the way the offense came out and played, it's 35-6 at halftime.
Yeah, they did score 21 in the fourth and still didn't even get a chance.
Yeah, it was 35-6 at halftime. If Ole Miss offense felt really good about their coach staying there, hey, we're investing all this, they probably would have came out and played a little better if they're an offensive-built team, right? It's how they started that worries me. Because lane-gifted teams usually don't start like that.
Well, a large part of it to me, guys, is we've been talking about this Ole Miss schedule at the end of the season. Look, here's how it started for them. Troy, Central Arkansas, Georgia Tech, Tulsa. They did play Kentucky at home. They won a close game there. Then Vanderbilt. Then they played Auburn. We were always looking at the end of this schedule when it got to LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Arkansas. And guess what? They lost 3 of those 4 games. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, look, the schedule is what the schedule is. Let's get back to the chat. Then I want to talk about Texas murdering Kansas.
Caleb Williams, $1.99 donation, man. Played pretty good yesterday. Says, rock and chalk, you'll always be the worst in the SEC. That's hilarious.
Say that again.
Rock and chalk, you'll always be the worst in the SEC.
Who is?
Whoever Rock and Chalk is. Let's go to Sean Ketstever with a $5 donation. How about them Beavers? Looking forward to the Civil War against the Uggs. Beavers have an elite defense in the Pac-12. Beavers, hey, they win this game and win their bowl game. 10-win season, fellas.
Well,
Beavers.
Maybe most underrated coach around. I mean, I know Arizona State's been through a lot with Herm Edwards being gone, but Oregon State, here they go, just bang, 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 bang. And speaking about USC, that Oregon State win that we talk about, that was the best one's looking better and better and better. And that's something you want all of that. If you're USC, obviously, you want everything to be moving in a positive direction. It's funny, you want Oregon State to beat Oregon. I mean, you're rooting on that because, again, we haven't seen USC versus Oregon. It's not on the schedule. I'm fascinated to see how the Pac-12 championship game is going to work out, who has who. Obviously, USC, they're going to be in it because they play Notre Dame, which isn't in the conference. That's a story for another day, but they look great, Colleen. Notre Dame did look fantastic. We'll mention that here in a minute.
Well, hey, we got a question about Notre Dame actually from Chris Totten here, $5 donation. Yeah. What was so great to see Notre Dame finally destroy a team they should have. Great Irish win. Morrison is a freaking beast. Can they beat Southern California?
I think they're talented enough too. They're going to have to throw the ball better than they have all year. We've seen Pine come in and try and steady the ship a little bit, but watching that game, and I had the over on my parlay at 38.5 on there. I had a 14 parlay. The only reason it didn't hit because Iowa and Minnesota can't score over 26.5 points, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. Don't think I forgot about you. When I look at Notre Dame, defensively, they just jumped Boston College. I mean, they got the ball first, drove it down, should have scored a touchdown, kicked a field goal. They picked off Boston College, then recovered a fumble. And I'm going to tell you something. That was a backwards pass that threw. That should have been a touchdown earlier for Notre Dame. They ended up going down and scoring. But, you got to have guys like Mayer step up. Notre Dame wants to be a physical, downhill run, stop you on defense, keep everything in front, and turn you over team. That's who they want. That's who they want to be. And watching Marcus Freeman, and we said this a little bit earlier about Brian Kelly, watching teams get better as they go throughout the year is the best compliment that you can give not only a veteran head coach, but a young head coach. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I am so impressed with how this team responded. You've had highs and you've had lows. They bounced back from the adversity of losing to Marshall, starting out 0 for Gopher, have totally flipped it around, and you're going to see that momentum continue. I think they can. A lot of things have to go right. They've got to get to Caleb Williams. You have to find a way. But between Marcus Freeman and Al Golden, I think they're good enough to come up with a plan to not stop him because I don't think you stop USC on offense. Oregon State got the closest, but I don't think USC is going to play that poorly again offensively with Caleb Williams trying to win the Heisman. find a way to contain him. Now, this game, I believe, is in Southern California, correct?
Yes.
So you're not worried about the cold weather, not having to go up there and freeze. It's going to be really, really tough for Notre Dame. For them to win, it needs to be a very ugly, ugly, ugly game. It needs to be a 27-24, 24-21, somewhere around there. Can they do it? Yes, we can Bob the Builder this thing. Yes, we can, but it's going to be very tough because USC is playing about as well as they can, and they're very excited coming off a big game in Lincoln Riley's first year there.
Hey, for Notre Dame, another 280-yard rushing performance.
Yeah.
Logan Diggs, 122 on the ground. Audrey Esme. I feel like this is still a top 2, top 3 running back tandem in the country for Notre Dame. But if you're Southern Cal right now, you have to be feeling good. Zach Charbonnet is a top 5 back in the country, and UCLA has a much more dynamic quarterback who you were able to keep at bay and turn the football over. So you just saw a power run game. You were able to win that football game on the road. Now you're going to face Notre Dame at home. I feel like Southern Cal has to like their chances against Notre Dame. But if this running back duo and Logan Diggs and Austin Estime gets working, man, it is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting watching Notre Dame be a smash mouth football team on the ground. That's what's interesting to me.
I mean, yeah, great weekend, but I mean USC, you got to feel like you're going to win this game. I don't know what the spread is.
I wonder what the spread's going to be.
Notre Dame, cool story, right? Cool story, Hansel Gretel. But I mean, you beat Navy by 3 the week before, 35-32. You beat a BC team who's Jeff Hafley's trying his best, but it's not a good football team. USC, this game's at USC, right?
Yeah.
I believe this game's at USC. USC, if Caleb Williams shows up, right, your offense shows up, I don't think Notre Dame won't have the firepower on offense to run with you. I really don't think they will.
You got to try
the quarterback position
if you're Notre Dame. It's your only. I mean, and that's what they want to do on the ground. You've got to be able to do that, but that's a lot easier said than done. That's a lot easier said than done. But it's going to be really interesting. All right, Iowa, Minnesota, and I put out a tweet yesterday. And I'm a defensive guy. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. And I know the weather's bad, and I know it's windy and nasty, and Iowa, Minnesota is always a good game. It's always a good game. I believe Minnesota had given Iowa a lot of trouble before this. I need to go back and look at the records, but I believe that's the case. But watching those two teams, and it would be different, okay, if Iowa and Minnesota, honestly, I've watched a lot of Minnesota games, had shown offensively that they were able to do some things. That game yesterday, and Ibrahim, watching him run was the highlight of the whole day, and then all the big white guys that play tight end in Iowa. But that game offensively, not only from an execution standpoint, but from a game planning standpoint, was awful to me. I mean, if you can't combine to score over 26 points in a game, and I know some games are crazy, some games are nuts, but again, it's a pattern. Iowa's offense with Petrus, it's just so hard for me, David, to watch that. It was so hard for me to watch it. I had to. These are two bad football teams, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking the Pac-12 is deeper than the Big Ten. I mean, who outside of Ohio State and Michigan, you could say Penn State can score? Nobody can score. Iowa can't score. Minnesota can't score. Illinois really can't score. Purdue's gone through droughts of looking like a totally different team when they've had Aiden O'Connell and Jeff Bromman. They're still probably about to win the Big Ten West. Rutgers can't score. I just, to me, it's one thing if you have a couple really good defensive teams that are okay on offense, but outside of the top 3 in the Big Ten, I'm looking at USC in the Pac-12. I'm looking at UCLA still in the Pac-12. I'm looking at Oregon. I'm looking at Utah. I'm looking at Oregon State. I feel like the Pac-12 is deeper than the Big Ten. Not at the top, but I think that they're deeper overall.
No, yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for the last few weeks. And Blaine and I were talking about this. Blaine and I were talking about this in the pre-show earlier because I've hit on, I think, 5 Iowa unders so far this year.
Yeah.
But look, this is the way Big Ten teams play, and they play that reason for November, sub-freezing temperatures. And that used to be, you used to go on to your conference championship, and then the season is over. Once you've had bowl games and the college football playoff ends up being indoors, and you have to then translate that, to being a high-flying offense in the playoff or something like that. That's where some of these teams get exposed. But you look at these two teams combined yesterday for 23 points. Georgia and Kentucky combined for fewer points. You know, they combined, but it was a 16-6 game, 22 overall points, and no one thought that that was embarrassing for the SEC. The part that's bad to me is that I was going to sit here and represent the Big Ten West as the champion again and play in the Big Ten championship. That's what's kind of bad for me. So look, we've been documenting the fact that the Big Ten West is not playing up to par, and it is bad. But you look at the Big Ten East, it is loaded over there. You know, when you have the Buckeyes, you have the Wolverines. Penn State's only loss is for those two teams. So I don't know. This is, you know, the identity of some of these schools is to play hard-nosed defense, blue-collar mentality, run the football, shorten the game. You know, the weather's sub-freezing. I don't know. That's just how I felt about it.
Yeah, well I agree with you on most parts except for the Georgia example. We've watched Georgia score points all year. Like that's one game. Like I said, if Iowa was scoring points during the year and Minnesota was scoring points during the year, you wouldn't hear a peep from me about that game yesterday.
But that's why it should be less surprising, though. I mean, if Georgia's scoring all these points and then they combine for 22, like this, that shouldn't have surprised anyone that Iowa Minnesota played to 23 points, right?
Yeah, it can be at least not surprising and still be bad. If my grandmother makes terrible grilled cheese sandwiches, the next time I eat one, I'm not surprised that it's bad, but it's still bad. Like it's a fact is a fact. But then I look at the teams that are winning the Big Ten. Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan is a hard-nosed, physical team that can score points. Michigan can score points. They could score points. Last year, we've seen it. We've seen Purdue at times be able to score a ton of points. But like Northwestern and Rutgers and Iowa and Minnesota and Illinois, and it's ugly to me. And I get it's freezing cold, and I hate. It's not football weather. I don't care what anybody says. Like that is not football weather.
I don't think
it is to them. That's what they have to play.
Just because it's cold, you have to play like that. Why didn't Ohio State play like that?
That's my thing.
Like, they did against Northwestern. They did against Northwestern when it was snowing on the road.
There wasn't a single team who scored 20 points in the Big Ten West. That's ridiculous to me. Just because it's cold and windy and you have to be tough doesn't mean you just have to sit there and run the ball and play defense. If that's true, Penn State doesn't do that. I mean, Michigan somewhat does that. I don't think Michigan really wants to do that. J.J. McCarthy, because elevated passing a little bit. They didn't really do that last year. So I feel like you see the ceiling. They're basically handcuffing themselves to do that. When you get into the playoffs, you're going to get your ass kicked. That's just how it is, because you're not going to be able to run with the best teams in college football if you just sit there and think, well, if we just run it's cold outside, it's windy, we got to be hard-nosed, we're just going to run the ball and play defense. You're putting a cap on yourself to where you're never going to win a championship. That's why Ohio State can win championships, because they can line up and say, well, we can run it, right? Or we can sit back here and throw it.
That's what Georgia's mentality and identity was when they won the championship last season.
Defense of all time.
Well, the greatest.
That's what I'm saying.
Georgia averaged like 40 points a game.
That was the mentality. I don't care that they just recruited better players and did it better. That's at least what I was trying to do. They're saying like that's what we would like to do is play such great defense that we can score 20 points a game and win every game like Georgia did last season. It's just not working out for them.
Georgia averaged like 40 points a game last year.
Well, what we said all of last season was if Georgia at least scores 20 points a game, they'll win every game because their defense isn't going to give up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, though,
that's what we said every week.
An anomaly from what Georgia had last year. I mean, that's one of the best defenses we've ever seen. I'm just talking about patterns of again, when and I get it to an extent, right? We all have an identity. Look, just because every offense wants to score points. It's not like Iowa and Minnesota are in the back room like, guys, how can we only score 14 points and win this game? Like nobody's sitting in the back room and doing that. It just to me, I think I agree with Blaine on it. Kind of puts the cap on you and what you can do. And I wonder because I'm the way the Big Ten West is shaping up right now.
I was about to win it. I was about to win it because I was going to play. Iowa and Purdue are tied in the Big Ten West right now, and Iowa has the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That was my question.
So I really think I was about to win the Big Ten West. And just to put a cap on it here, I don't want it to be confused that I'm saying the Big Ten West is really good at football right now.
No.
Like the Big Ten West is down. All I'm saying is that if combining for 23 points is embarrassing, right? Well, then we have to include every game that's combined for that amount of points. And I think that two offenses combining for over 100 points is just as embarrassing because there's no defense being played. I mean, we can look at Tennessee, be like, well, their offense is so good, they're going to go and beat everyone who's in the Big Ten West, and then they lose and get blown out by South Carolina yesterday. Like, it's not great to be an unbalanced team, which is why I think you're seeing Georgia have so much success right now. And
that's exactly right, David. It's balance. That's what it is. Well, what are good teams? They play complementary football. They're balanced offensively, defensively, special teams. I think that's the word that we're looking for. I think you hit that one right on the head. What's going on in the chat?
All right, let's go to Malcolm Martin. I don't know what's going on in here, guys, but you always know I'm down to choose violence, especially on a Sunday morning. I believe Travis is saying that the Big 12 is a deeper and a tougher conference schedule than the SEC. What are our thoughts, guys?
How?
Right now, this season I have the SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, and ACC is how I have them ranked right now.
I think you're spot on.
With a conversation to be had about Pac-12 and Big 12 being flipped.
Okay, so let me ask Travis this. Okay, if you put TCU in the SEC, put them in the East. You put them in the East. What's their record? They undefeated? Okay, now I want you to put Georgia or Tennessee into the Big 12 and tell me their record. And this is why I wish, like, one of the reasons I love college basketball is that we get, like, the Big 10 SEC challenge, right? Or, like, the Big East ACC challenge, where these teams are playing each other, every year. I wish 1 year, scheduling 3 years down the road, maybe the SEC could do a deal with the Big 12 to say, you know what? All of our teams, and I know the numbers may not match up with how many teams are in the conference, all of our teams are going to play your teams, like we do in college basketball, to start the season. I think that would be legitimately awesome. Because we look at bowl games, and now with opt-outs, though, bowl games aren't really on an even playing field. If it's not, if you're a team that struggled and you made a bowl and you really care, that's great. But if you're a team that had high aspirations and kind of fell down and now you're playing in the Meineke Car Care Bowl, you're not as excited when, two of your first rounders are sitting out. I wish we could do that in football the way we do in college basketball. But when it comes down to depth, I don't see it in the Big 12 compared to the SEC. I disagree with that.
I look at it like this. I love college football. I don't have any allegiance to any one conference, and I played in one of them. And I don't feel any allegiance to anything other than college football. And then I have my team, right? All of us have our team. We pull for our team, and then after that, you just pull for college football. There's great football teams all across the country. There's bad football teams all across the country in every single conference. And the parity that we're seeing this year, we should not take for granted because it makes Saturdays like yesterday so special.
Mm-hmm. And it's not. We haven't had that lately.
No,
like we haven't had this flavor ice cream. We've had vanilla ice cream. We've had chocolate ice cream. Then all of a sudden this year it's Rocky Road and everybody's freaking out because it's awesome. And I hope it stays that way. I really hope it does.
Rocky Road is mid. Hashtag. Let's go to Texas Ed. Hashtag Ask Crane and Company. Can Coach Sark stop trying to be the smartest guy in the room and just line up and bludgeon teams? Well, they did that yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Bijan Lambo at 200 plus.
Yeah, you think Texas was a little pissed off with the way they played last week? I mean, Kansas and look, I know with Daniels being out, Jason Bean, he can do some things. But Texas, this was the ass meeting of a lifetime. Now, this was from the start. I was going to flip over to the game and then saw the score and looked at Bijan numbers and was like, no. There's so much other going on. I was like the architect from the Matrix with all the TVs in there. We talked about a lot of the harping on Sark has been in the second half with leads. Like he's treating the second half with the lead like the first half when you're going in there trying to get that lead. And look, you always want to be in the right scheme, right? Or the right play. You always want to out-leverage people. You always want to have the advantage. I'm not saying go out there and say, you know what, just close your eyes and throw a dart and we'll pick a play in the second half, or just run inside zone the whole time. But there is an art form to having the lead the way you call plays. That factors into it. You don't have to get cute. You've got a Lambo and Bijan Robinson. Line up and bludgeon people like Texas Ed said, and you'll be amazed at what happens, and you'll be able to maintain some of these leads that you've either almost lost or lost. You know who would love to sit down and have a conversation with you about it? Oh, wait, You were with the Falcons. You already know this. Why am I having to tell you this, Steve Sarkisian? Why am I having to tell you to run the ball in the second half? You should be the poster child. You should be walking around the streets spinning a sign that says, I will run it with a lead after what happened in Atlanta. You watched it go down, man. That's what I don't understand. It's almost like PTSD. Like you can't do it. You finally did it yesterday, and you saw what happened.
Are you talking about the Patriots Super Bowl?
Yes.
I think that was Kyle Shanahan.
No, it was Kyle Shanahan, but he knows Kyle. He was with
because
he
filled it. Yeah,
you watched him do it.
I get it. Bijan Robinson, 243 and 4 touchdowns. Blaine.
Yeah, I mean, Bijan is an NFL running back, the best running back. I mean, in college football right now. Let's be honest. That's why I was so surprised. What happened against TCU? They really kind of got away from the run. Let's go to JC. What's up, JC? Says, what's your guys' thoughts on the Iron Bowl this year with Alabama and Auburn having down years? Kill me. Can't wait to watch it. Sweet.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know what the over-under is, but I'm on the under. Robbie Ashford is a Wildcat quarterback. Okay, I tweeted that yesterday.
He's not even that.
No, like
Robbie Ashford's a baseball player.
Can we give Auburn some love here, fellas? Can we give Auburn
we cannot.
some love, please?
David.
We were 5.5-point favorites against Western Kentucky. It's the worst it's been in a while.
I took them 6.5.
Western Kentucky?
No,
we're in the SEC West.
Cone.
We have a baseball player at quarterback and have two absolute machines in the backfield, a high school offensive line, and one good player on defense.
Dude, I'll say this.
Blake can't even be happy with a 41-17 victory.
Cadillac's done a phenomenal job. He's done a phenomenal job. But I'm looking at what Will Friend's game plan for that game. And I'm like, all right, I'm thinking to myself, if I had Robbie Ashford at quarterback, what would I do? You know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't turn him into a drop-back passer from under center. That's what I wouldn't do. I'd get lining up in the eye to run it. All right, but if I had Robbie Ashford, you know what I'm lining up under center? To run the triple option. That's what I'm lining up under center. This man is running a West Coast offense with Robbie Ashford like he's Jason Campbell. I would put Robbie Ashford in the shotgun, get him on the move, quarterback design runs, true 11 on 11. I hope Will Friend is gone. I hope whoever they bring in, because if you look at that, I don't know what's worse. Jimbo looking at Haynes King compared to Max Johnson and Connor Wegman and going, that's the guy that's going to make me look smart. Or Will Friend going, guys. It's like the coach of the water boy. He's like, y'all, come in here, sit down. He's like, here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. We're going to put Robbie under center and turn him into a drop back passer. They'll never expect it.
Yeah.
They'll never expect it. That was the worst game plan I've ever seen in my life. And Auburn was good enough to be able to look. Western Kentucky played terrible on offense. They played terrible. They dropped a ton of passes. I like that quarterback they got a little bit, the Reed guy. I like him.
They always got one.
Him at Auburn in a second. We'll take him at Auburn in a second.
Yeah.
But Western Kentucky played bad. But Cadillac, getting those guys fired up. Again, I hope he's retained whoever takes the job. But turning Robbie Ashford into a drop back passer is peak Brian Harsin coaching staff at Auburn.
If I had Robbie Ashford at quarterback, I wouldn't. I would never, ever have Robbie Ashford at quarterback. And guys, I'm not trying to come out here and be negative, but have we fallen this far?
Are you though?
Has it gotten this bad?
Can we get
There's
some
a baseball player playing quarterback.
200-yard rushers here. Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, 2 victories back.
I'm not worried about that, David.
Williams. Can we get some Auburn love, Blaine?
I'm not worried about Jarquez and Tank running the ball. That's the last thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about why we have 3 running backs and one's playing quarterback. Not even that. Robbie Ashford's the kid who plays shortstop, who throws it as hard as he can every time he gets the ball.
Every time. We all know that kid.
He throws it 111 miles per hour. It either hits him in the chest or he's flying overhead. I watched him through and out and threw up in my apartment.
It was so bad. It was the commentator was like, I remember what you're talking about. And the commentator was like, yeah, he's really got to get his hip around. I was like, no, dog, he just sucks at throwing.
Yeah, look, there's not a coach out there that can fix that.
No, that's But no, I mean, that may have been the best bet on the board yesterday. Why I didn't take Auburn -6.5. Even Reed was like, give me Auburn by a touchdown. I was like, yeah.
Reed gets it. Let's go to Mike RFF Lifestyle, fellas. He wants to know, #Ask Crane & Company. For each of you, who's your favorite witch in college football? Jake, we'll start with you.
My favorite witch. Give me, right now, I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean,
imagine that.
About NFL ready. You talk about a guy that is, and it's not just because of his route running, and it's not just because him high pointing the ball and catching the ball away from his body and being able to toe tap. Marvin Harrison Jr. wants to block. Like if he is a complete receiver. He isn't a prima donna. He isn't, oh, my toe hurts. Oh, my feeling hurts. Oh, my dad cussed me out last night on the phone because I ran an out route when I should have ran an in route. No, he's out there. He is about his business, but his body control at 6'4", the speed is one thing. Body control like that at 6'4" is X-Men special. It's Avenger special. It's Justice League special. It's let's knock Russia out of the war special. Like, just, he's my favorite witch right now, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Imagine that. The Buckeyes having an elite wide receiver.
I know, right?
And when he leaves, they'll have another. And when he leaves, they'll have another. My witch currently, I'm telling you, the more I watch Caleb Williams, the more my jaw just drops. With his ability to throw off platform, but doesn't throw off platform when he doesn't need to. He reminds me more and more of Patrick Mahomes. See, Aaron Rodgers is always throwing off platform. Just because he can. Hey, I'll throw it sidearm. I'll do this. I'll throw it from anywhere. Caleb Williams will sit in the pocket, 3 and a hitch, and drive the football down the field, and it's impressive. Or he'll shake off a tackler, throw it sidearm, make the same exact throw off platform. It's incredible to watch. The more and more I see him, the more I'm thinking he could be the best NFL quarterback that we're seeing right now. I still want to see some more from Drake May. Obviously not a good performance yesterday against Georgia Tech. How about those Yellow Jackets, though, coming through strong? But Caleb Williams, it drops my jaw the more I watch him throw the football.
Yeah. Blaine, who's yours?
Yeah, this is easy for me. I mean, give me Ladd McConkey, the great white samurai. All right? I mean, I just love watching as a receiver. Receivers have to be really good at lying. All right. So if you're a fiance or you're married to a receiver, don't worry. He's lying about something. Okay. That's what he's doing. Ladd McConkey is the greatest liar in college football. And it's a layers of lies, right? That's what it is.
I love
you want everything to look the same. Everything Ladd McConkey does look the same. I guarantee he does the same thing every day. This every day, 6:30, I'm doing this, 7:30, I'm folding clothes. Everything looks the same until it hits you. Right. Next thing you know, he's 10 yards behind you. But he makes the routine plays. Like he turns doubles into triples. He's really good at sitting in zone coverage. But Ladd McConkey, in my opinion, a true witch.
He's the Drew Timmy of college football to me. 100%. You look at him and I'm
trying to think like who Ladd McConkey. Like Ladd McConkey is like the kid in Harry Potter who just shows up at the right moments. Who's like not even a main character. But like Harry's wand breaks fighting Voldemort. Next thing you know, they look up, Ladd McConkey's running a dig route across the middle of the field and just slings a wand to Harry. And next thing you know, he's back in it. That's who Ladd is. No one really thinks of him. It's all Stetson and this. Brock Bowers. Next thing you know, he's got a little white witch running on the sidelines catching. Give me 8 yards. 8 yards of play.
Yeah, Blaine, I think that was perfectly said. It's like James Carville on Old School. He's like, I don't have anything else to say. That was perfect. But I do want to say Georgia Tech, and look, Jeff Collins is a buddy of ours. Sometimes a fresh start's good, but man, have they turned it around? I mean, not only winning games, and look, North Carolina dropping that pass was huge late, but that game wasn't lost because of one play. Georgia Tech, they were down early. North Carolina kind of came out and was doing their thing. They fought back late. It was like North Carolina was like, all right, we're not playing our best, but Georgia Tech's not going to come back. They have nothing to play for. I just want to give credit to those coaches that are there right now, to those kids being able to come back and make that play. And look, for North Carolina, you were living on borrowed time a lot. If I'm a North Carolina fan, am I shocked out of this world? Did I wake up this morning like, I can't believe we lost? Maybe a little bit, but you go back to App State. You go back to Wake Forest. You go back to some of these games. North Carolina has been living on borrowed time for a while. They've been overachieving. Not as much as Tennessee. It's to a lesser degree. But I think with Drake May, right now, if you're North Carolina, now here's the goal. If I'm North Carolina, Matt Brown, don't leave Drake May. Don't go to Bama. Please don't go to Bama. But like, don't. I can just see this happening. I can see Bryce Young going, and Nick Saban just ties a note to a pigeon's foot that's going to fall off at the exact right time, right in Drake, because Drake May was committed to Bama.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if I'm North Carolina, hey, hell of a year, guys. Let's high five. We're going to be good in basketball again. All right, Drake May. Oh, now you're locked in the Chamber of Secrets.
And his brother plays basketball there.
You're not letting any of that happen.
I think that's the reason is the strong family ties with his brother playing basketball there and his dad having played at North Carolina. For Georgia Tech, man, what a huge win. You put it perfectly, Jake. North Carolina was living on borrowed time. That's a great way to put it. I just thought when they lost their next game, it would be 43-42.
Yeah.
Not 21-17. That I didn't see coming.
Georgia
someone
Tech
tweeted at me yesterday, I think it was Jimbo Eagle maybe, who said, imagine if Georgia Tech had this coach all season long. And it hurt me to hear that because I love Jeff Collins. And I didn't think Jeff Collins was the problem at Georgia Tech. I hope he gets another job. I hope he still has a great coaching career. But man, they sure have turned something around there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here, guys. We're not here to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. I mean, Jeff Collins, it looks like it was your fault. All right, it looks like it was your fault. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, I hope you get another job. Love Jeff, but the third string quarterback comes in for Georgia Tech and wins this game. And I can understand being on borrowed time if you're North Carolina, but you don't go lose to a Georgia Tech team with their third string quarterback with a Heisman front runner. If anything, this is a really bad loss for UNC and Mac Brown. But great win for Georgia Tech. I mean, you love to see it. You're now 5-6 on the season. But hey, and go win your last game. You're going to the road at Georgia. Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing plays out. All right, let's get to the chat. I know Kansas State blew out West Virginia. I'm sitting here wondering if Will Howard was the full-time guy the whole year. I know he played a little bit earlier, and then Adrian got hurt, and he started to ball out. But man, guys, this Kansas State offense is blowing the light bulbs off the scoreboard right now.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree. It's just like, is Kansas State the only team that can stop TCU? Is it Kansas State? Because we always, like, during the year we said, what about Kansas State? It was their what? We're kind of impressed with their defense, right? Mm-hmm. Their defense is doing this. Now it's the offense kind of picking up the slack, and the defense is not playing super well. But if they do beat a TCU team, who I don't know at this point, TCU just might be God's team. All right? It might be God's team this year, guys. Might just come down because every time I watch a TCU, I don't know how their head coach hasn't had 6 heart attacks this year. Just watching these guys play, they're the Vikings of college football.
Well, when you look at that TCU Baylor game, we really haven't talked a lot about the mechanics of the game, especially and I wanted to get to that before we hit the chat and then shifted to the NFL. That was a game in which Baylor set the tone early on the ground. TCU could not set an edge for basically the whole game. I mean, Baylor was doing whatever they wanted on the ground, and they weren't having to put too much in Blake Shapen's hand, which you saw when too much was put in his hands. He didn't make the throw at the end that he had to with a wide-open guy to clinch the game. TCU should have lost this game, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. They're finding ways to win it. What I thought was impressive was that TCU came out and they took the first punch, right? You took the first punch, you answered, you got that pick at halftime, 14-14 going in. You come out, you're moving the ball a little bit, you give it back to Baylor, they take the lead, it's back and forth, then you go down 8 with 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Max Duggan, without Darius Davis, without Johnson, who had gotten hurt earlier in the game, without a couple of his top targets on top of that, was able to move that ball down the field, not only score the touchdown, should have hit the 2-point conversion. DeMercado drops the slip pass when he split the line of scrimmage off the play action there, or they would have had it. Then the defense comes out and gets the stop that you had to get. But Blake Shapen not hitting the tight end on the over may be what keeps a Michigan or Ohio State out of the playoff. And at the end, when there was 22 seconds and Sonny Dykes ran the ball with no timeouts, runs ball. That was a stupid call. Okay, They won, but I think Sonny, if he got on here today, would look at you and said, I messed that up. That was a bad decision by me. Because in no way, shape, or form should that field goal team had to run out there like that. But who screwed it up the most was Baylor. Baylor screwed it up. Why are your guys sprinting off the field? Why? Why is anybody on the – because typically the defense stays out there against the field goal block. Since TCU subbed all those people, the referee has to give the other team time to sub. And if you watch the guys that subbed on and off for Baylor, they took off. They took off, boom, instantly. I'm jogging. I'm lollygag. Well, what do they say in Bull Durham? It's like you lollygag on the bases. You lollygag in the field. You know what that makes you? Lollygaggers. And they should have been lollygaggers at the end. And the referee would have sat there and it'd have been close if TCU could have got it off or not. But going out there, we used to call it Toro field goal. No timeouts. You got to go out there, Toro. Everybody swinging the towel. Perfectly executed by TCU and good on that kicker, the Kell kid, who had missed the extra point that maybe was going to cost him their season. He was going to come down the extra point. He goes up there and drills the game winner, but just madness at the end of that TCU Baylor game.
Yeah, they did ask Sonny Dykes about it after the game, and he said, "Well, that's what we wanted. That's what we practiced." And the kicker wanted the ball in the middle of the field.
Cap.
I was looking at it like, okay, I get it. You want the ball in the middle of the field. Do you want that more than you want to be able to go out there and set up? So I don't know. Very risky. Whether it was a good call or bad call, I don't know. They won the football game. But here's one thing I was thinking. We always, these coaches call timeout to ice kickers to give them more time to get in their head. Is it almost better if the kicker is, as long as there's time to actually get the play off, which there was, and they did, is it almost better off just to line up and kick it without thinking so it can be the opposite of a freeze, Jake?
Dude, like, I have thought about that. I kept special teams for a long time. And it's almost like, I don't play darts a lot, but when I go up there and I'm like, all right, 19. I'm going to hit 19, and here we go. Like, I won't do as well if I go up and say, I got to hit 19. Oh, there it is. Bink. Like, I think it depends on the person. Like, I really think it depends on the type of person. You have some people, like my fiance, that'll have a plate of food and she'll eat all the mashed potatoes at once. And then she'll go to the vegetables. And then she'll go to the meat. Then you have somebody like me who, like, I'm eating a bite of mashed potatoes while getting a bite of vegetables and eating those together. I think it just depends on the type of person. Are all my clothes folded in my huge armoire cabinet Narnia thing? No. Are all hers? Yes. I think it just depends on the type of person, honestly.
A couple things here for me. One position I don't think gets enough attention when it comes to this was the holder for the field goal team.
Yeah.
This guy, kind of sets the pace for the field goal team. And this dude was cool, calm, collected, probably has a cool last name, maybe a mullet, but he was there. He set the tempo, right? Made sure everybody was set with the right time on the clock. Gave a good head bob, flicked that head up. That means it's time to go. Perfect snap, perfect execution. But one thing I kind of got let down by yesterday was by Baylor and Illinois. Just the play calling late. It's the play calling. That last time, you don't have to run it the first two plays, guys. All right. You don't have to run it. I understand you want to kill clock. I get it. You want to burn time, but they know you're running it. Why not get a play action on second down? Yeah. All right. Why not get a little bit creative on the early downs when everyone thinks you're going to run it and get no yards? And now you do what? Put yourself in a third down and somewhat medium or long with Blake Shapen, who can't read a pop-up book when it comes to secondaries. So, and you go to Illinois too. There's like, here, just see how quick I can get out. You have to get the great ones, the great coordinators, especially at the end of games, all right, have that little extra nuance who will do the opposite of what you think is going to actually happen. If you want to win big games, you have to take chances late. Baylor didn't take a chance. Illinois didn't take a chance. That's why both of them blew that lead.
All right, let's go to the chat. Then we're going to shift to the NFL.
Okay, let's go to, let me get in here. Alan Crew, terrible play calling at the end for Baylor and Illinois for sure. Okay, love to see that. Kentucky Fried 994 says, what was TCU even doing there? They got to practice that.
Oh, yeah. Look, so we did it, and even Sonny Dykes said after the game. So some people do it on Thursdays. We did it on Thursdays and Fridays when we do our walkthrough. Now, it wouldn't be full speed on Friday, but we'd say, all right, hey, Toro alert, field goal team, get ready. The way that operation works is that, and you work it on Thursdays, we used to call it Thursday specials, right? You have Toro field goal or whatever you want to call it, NASCAR field goal, whatever. You have kickoff after safety, kickoff return after safety, hands team, onside kick, fake field goals, fake punts, things like that, your specials off the special teams. All that they know they don't have timeouts, right? So everybody on the offense is on the field. Most every offensive lineman, maybe save one, is on the field goal team too, right? You have tight ends that are typically the wings, depending on what you're running. You have a backup quarterback as the holder. Maybe your punter's your holder and the long snapper. So you have those guys grouped on the sidelines. They are following the ball. So wherever the ball is, they're following it on the sidelines. And it's Toro alert, they're getting alerted. And they're watching the game. Right when that goes down, They are it's an F1 pit crew. They're literally right there. They're sprinting out there. The guys on the offensive line who need to get off know it. The wide receivers know, hey, I got to get going. Running backs, quarterbacks know, hey, I got to get going if I'm not holding. So it was perfectly executed, but make no mistake. That is not how Sonny Dykes and them wanted that to go down. That was an emergency situation. That's, oh, no, I'm Tom Cruise. The plane's hit. Can I fly it? Nope, eject button. Sometimes you just got to pull the hit the eject button.
All right, let's go to James Stalling with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, James. Says, have we talked about the Ole Miss fans being upset about the format last night? Have we talked about this, fellas?
Yeah, I even tweeted about this earlier. And I know a lot's going on at Ole Miss right now. I know there's a lot going on with the Lane Kiffin thing. And I like when people that know football talk about football. So Cole and Jordan, all them talking to Grant Morgan. If you know football and understand, like that is so much fun. And you're learning. Like that wasn't like a PhD on what's going on in football. It's a lot deeper than that. But I would think, and again, I can only speak for myself. I've never been anybody else, or, not that I know of. I guess we'll find out after I die. But if I was an average football fan, like I want to learn that stuff. And Ole Miss, I know the problem that Ole Miss fans had with it was Tom Hart said that coaches take players when they leave. Well, that's life, man. That y'all really gonna get upset about something? The guy we work for has a great saying. It's called "Facts don't care about their feelings." Y'all got Zach Evans out of the portal. I don't see y'all crying about that. I don't see y'all taking Jackson Dart out of the portal and crying about that. Like it's hypocritical. That's what happens. If coaches leave, they take players. I'm sorry, they do it at Ole Miss. They do it at Alabama. They do it everywhere. It's just how it works. So I don't understand why you get mad at somebody pointing out a fact. Just because you don't like a fact doesn't mean that it's not a fact and doesn't mean that it shouldn't be pointed out. The second thing, you're getting beat to death in that game. All right? A lot of people, when it's a blowout, what do? They turn the channel. Well, you want to know one way to keep them watching the channel? Give them something that's not just, all right, and there goes Rocket Sanders for another 12-yard gain. Man, the Ole Miss defense is getting run through like a bad habit in a sorority house right now.
That was good.
It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. I love the format last night because I love football. I guess if you're a fan of the team that their coach might leave and they're getting drubbed on national TV, I don't want y'all to be saying, man, oh, God, everybody look, my team's getting murdered every 3 seconds. Oh, and there goes Arkansas again. This is the ass beating of a lifetime. Like, I don't know what fans expect. I love that format.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. And like once it was 35-6, I was like, all right, Pac-12.
Exactly.
Let's go to Justin Decker. We're talking lower. Hashtag Ask the Show. Guys, I missed on 2 7-game parlays with one loss each. Army over Army on UConn plus 10. Damn you, UConn.
I missed
LSU
that too.
Over 50. I was so close to being 2K Richard. What's it going to take to hit just one time? You're not working hard enough.
Justin Decker, I had the same thing, man. I had a little 2-team parlay, UConn plus 10.5 and Duke plus 10.5. Blue Devils lived up to their half. UConn did not.
Yeah, I mean,
look,
Justin, it sounds like
you're
not working hard enough, to be honest. How much are you really putting in the analytics and the research here? Like you get out what you put in, Justin. All right. And I'm guessing it's 2 teams, 17, probably last leg, right? Last leg, 6 legs probably went great, hit easily. But then you get that last leg. You know why you're not hitting it? You're not dedicated enough. Once you hit that level of dedication, you'll start to hit it.
Justin, don't listen to him.
Justin, I just think it's really hard to be right, to guess right 7 times. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. It's like that Dr. Pepper Fansville commercial, which I think is hilarious. The one where he's like skipping the rock and they're like, you're not upset enough. And he's like, oh, it's just, bunch of kids with a ball. That's what you're betting on. You are betting on 18 to 22-year-olds. Now that's, why BYU, when you're betting on like 26 to 30-year-olds, maybe a little bit easier. But we saw that one the case. Just ask, everybody at Utah Valley. But when you're betting on 18 to 22-year-olds, you may get a couple of them right. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you had a group of 7, 18 to 22-year-olds, all right, like your 17 parlay, 6 of them, you may know exactly what they're going to do in a certain situation. But there's always that one that's not going to do what you think he's going to do. There's always the one that freaks out and goes Emily Rose and starts eating spiders in the side of the room. There's always the one that you're like, where is he? And he's driving 100 miles per hour past the school zone because he just pegged.
Eating spiders.
Yeah, it just at the end of the day, that's how it goes. It's tough to hit a 7-legger unless you're my fiance that just hits 10-team parlays on the reg. You know what you need to do, Justin? You need to do the NCAA tournament thing. You need to go up to a random woman that knows nothing about college football, nothing about it. She didn't even have to know what a spread is. And you get 7 games, and you ask her, hey, Julia, how do you feel about the UConn plus 10? She's going to say, what's UConn plus 10? And you're going to say, well, their mascot's the Huskies. And she's going to love Huskies. She may have had one when she was a kid. She may have always wanted one when she was a kid. And she'll pick them based off the mascot because it's a dog. And you know what?
It'll hit.
Because it's a guess.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's an educated guess for some. I like to feel like I make educated guesses, but I'm not going to tell you I know exactly what a group of 18 to 22-year-olds are going to do on national television. So it just is what it is.
Well, Justin, I'm going to tell you, if you want to hit a 7-legger, man, just let me know. All right, just let me know.
He already said. He said I was listening to
you, Blaine. I guess I should listen to Jake. I didn't take UConn plus 2.5, bud. I didn't take that bet. I didn't take that bet. You haven't listed a bet on here that I missed. All right, so don't be outside with an inside voice and doing all that stuff. I don't like that. All right, I don't like that. All right, let's go to Brian Aguilo. $5 donation. Appreciate it, Brian. West Coast guy here. Yep. All right, Brian. He says, love the show, guys. Love you, Brian. Just woke up on the West Coast. Did Caleb Williams wrap up the Heisman last night? I think he's the front runner now.
Yeah,
I still think he doesn't win out.
Didn't wrap it up, but he's front runner.
Yeah, I mean, with Drake May and them losing too, I mean, again, Notre Dame game is big, all right? But I feel like they should be fine against Notre Dame. I don't want to jinx them or anything like that. Pac-12, I think he can wrap it up in the Pac-12 championship game. I think he can wrap it up. Now that Blake Corum has got hurt in that game, he's kind of out of it. I hate his Hendon Hooker in Tennessee got their brains beat in, and then he got hurt. Bo Nix was good for Oregon, but wasn't outstanding. Stetson Bennett was good, but wasn't outstanding. Jalen Hyatt didn't freak out for Tennessee or anything like that. I don't know how you look at it. I think right now it's between Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud, right? It's got to be.
I don't think Blake Corum's out of it. I don't think he's out of it.
It's between those two. So with CJ and Caleb, who has the better opportunity moving forward? Well, I'm looking at this Ohio State game, and after looking at the weather this weekend, I know it's not going to be warm and sunny like it's down in Key West against a very physical Michigan team where Mike Morris is going to play. Then I look at where they're going to play the Pac-12 championship game. I mean, hell, it's basically on a movie set, man. You couldn't have better stuff going on over there. So I think Caleb Williams right now, while I wouldn't say he's wrapped it up, I would say he is in the best position right now to be able to wrap this thing up in the next 2 weeks. Has to be the front runner. And what a great feather in the cap for Lincoln Riley, who needed a good year to boost this thing off, right? He got the bag dropped on him. You can use the jet whenever. Do you want to have my daughter? All the stuff he got at USC, out in Turks and Caicos with cheese, eggs, and potatoes, doing his thing out there. He needed a big year to jump this thing off. He got it. And the defense, again, guys, the USC defense has to get turnovers to survive. And if you look at the Pac-12 yesterday, Cam Rising and DTR both made the big mistakes, while Caleb Williams and Bo Nix did not. That's the difference. But Caleb Williams, I mean, you throw for that amount of yards, I don't care who you're playing. I don't care in what conference it is. That is very, very impressive. And it goes to show you how big terminology is in this whole thing. Because when Caleb went from Oklahoma to USC, the only learning curve was where's the science building, where's In-N-Out Burger, I know the offense. So that just goes to show you how big terminology is.
I have Caleb Williams as my front runner right now, too. I don't think Blake Corum is out of it, though. Now, if he does it playing Columbus, he will be out of it. If he rushes for 30 yards in that game, he's out of it. So, and look, we don't know how banged up he is. I do still think the winner of that game was C.J. Stroud and Blake Corum. That either one of them could still win the Heisman. And think about yesterday, even against Illinois, Blake Corum had 100 yards and a touchdown in a quarter and a half. He had a full game's worth of numbers there before he got injured. So let's see how he progresses. If he goes off for 160 against the Buckeyes and they win the game, I think he's every bit right there in the conversation.
And can we show some love to Chase Brown, too? Just an elite back.
Yeah.
Just an
No,
elite
I mean, top-notch back. I think he's
NFL
still
back.
leading the country in yards, you know?
I mean,
A
my
couple
leader
other
right now
things.
is
Oh, go
obviously
ahead.
for Heisman is Brian Harsin. I'm going to be honest. Let's go to
Brian
Caleb
Harsin.
Williams with a $10 donation. Caleb says, please tell Travis, we're still talking about this. Please tell Travis Elrod the Big 12 is a joke conference that doesn't compare to the SEC and won't even be a conference after Texas and Oklahoma leave. Joke? I don't know. Mid?
We got to
for sure.
stop with the joke. We got to stop with this conference is a joke.
Hey, but honestly though, if I'm the Pac-12, am I looking at that USC UCLA game last night? And you're like, God, I wish both teams could lose.
Yeah.
But again, they're leaving you. So again, if I'm the Pac-12, I'm like, man, we're gonna have to bring in San Diego State and Fresno State to replace that we saw last night. Like, it's one thing. Look, Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. But man, you said UCLA and USC leaving the Pac-12 in football. I mean, yeah, it creates a vacuum. Oregon's been good and Utah's been nice. But past that, man, I mean, God, if I'm the Pac-12 official, I'm watching that game. It's like, man, I wish both teams could have lost.
The conferences are going to end up being called ESPN and Fox anyway.
Yes.
So
That's exactly right.
a couple other things around the country I had. Hey, Navy beating Central Florida.
Gus Malzahn.
I don't even know if
Yeah,
they completed a pass.
What a transition.
Yeah.
Indiana
Gus
beating
Malzahn losing big games he shouldn't at home.
Indiana beating Michigan State.
Yeah. Big loss
Louisville over NC State.
Boy, NC State, man. You remember when everybody, and including some guys we have on the show sometimes, said that NC State.
Yeah, remember Big Game Boomer came on the show and said NC State was going to make it to the playoff? No, they're not.
Dude, this is why, like, before the year, like, there's always that flavor of the year, right? There's always the team that everybody thinks is going to have the big year that doesn't, and the team that nobody's really looking at that has the big one. NC State just happened to be that one this year.
There's always a new girl who transfers in, you know. New girl transfers in. Everyone's like, who's this? Who's this? Wow, she's pretty hot. And you know, she could be a top 4 in the high school. Next thing you know, she gains 15 pounds and you can't even look at her anymore. Let's go to Emmanuel C. with the 5. Real quick, David, since you brought this up. Emmanuel C. $5 donation says, is UCF stuck in limbo with Gus Malzahn? UCF just lost to Navy without Navy completing a pass. Look, I don't wish bad things on anybody, but I wouldn't mind Gus Malzahn losing every game he can.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because it's all goody-goody two-shoes. I'm okay if you're okay, and that's okay.
There's
I'm not going to recruit a tackle for 4 years.
There's nothing
That's
wrong
why,
with that.
David.
You got to get
Our best player. You know what I was sick of? Every time they brought up an Auburn game, an Auburn highlight, right? Let's go look at Auburn's key players. It wasn't quarterback, wasn't running back. He's like, let's go look at Auburn's kicker for the 7th year in a row. Congrats.
Yeah, which, by the way, Evan McPherson, the Bengals kicker's little brother, just first kick ever, comes and bangs a 51-yarder. Like, it's like on Billy Madison when he's playing like the instrument and he's terrible at it, and the other guy's playing it, and he's like, he's good.
Who does he play for?
The Bengals. His older brother's the Bengals kicker.
Yeah, who's the younger brother play for?
Auburn.
Oh.
Jeez. Welcome to
I'm sorry. Haven't been watching a lot of Auburn this year. I'd rather stare at a wall.
I had the over as part of a parlay bet yesterday. So
let's go to Laura Brown with a $5 donation. Hey, I want everyone to give me a lot of credit. I've basically done this whole episode with barely hearing anything in my ear. I can barely hear either of y'all. A lot of this, right? A lot of this episode. Let's go to Laura Brown, $5 donation. 2 things. 1, my Red Raiders are bowl eligible under the first-year head coach, Joey McGuire. Joey. 2, beef jerky will be on its way and once grades are submitted. Yes.
Laura, first off, thank you. You're doing God's work. Second off, we talked about this after they beat Texas. I mean, you look at, and a lot of people have been talking about new hires, right? Even year 2 guys, Shane Beamer, Josh Heupel. You look out on the West Coast, Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly at LSU. Nobody's really talking about what Coach McGuire's done at Tech. I think he's done a fantastic job. And look, Lubbock loves their football. All right. When I was coaching junior college, I would we'd have kids come back from visits in Lubbock, believe it or not. And you're like, man, that place was a whole hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to be. They really care about football out there. And then I've always kind of low-key liked Texas Tech a little bit. And you would think with Mahomes going there and some of the tradition that they have and Crabtree and things like that they'd be kind of a little more perennial than what they are when you look at like TCU and Baylor's really up their game. But I think they got the right guy in Joey McGuire. Really excited to watch him. Just like I think Kansas State got the right guy in Coach Kleiman. Just like I think Baylor got the right guy in Dave Aranda. I think the Big 12 has made some of the sneakiest, best hires of anybody and any conference out there. I think that's a compliment to all the athletic directors and the administrations out there that are getting things done. But all right, let's transition to the NFL, guys. Can y'all pull up the slate today?
The NFL?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it right here. First one, Chicago Bears at the Falcons.
I won't be betting on the Bears. I promise you that. I'll never bet on the Bears for anything again. After what y'all did to me last week against the Lions, I wish nothing but losses. And outside of Justin Fields, I don't care. Okay? I don't care. Not only did you blow the bet for me, I was playing Shapiro, who had Justin Fields at quarterback, who ran for like 10 gajillion yards. I said I lost fantasy before it even started because of what Justin Fields did. Now, you look at the over-under in this game with the Falcons. Falcons coming off a game where they didn't play very well. The Bears are going to be hungry after what happened. Justin Fields is obviously as confident as a 9 walking around a bunch of 5s. But I think the Falcons find a way. They're 3-point favorites here. It's going to be a fast track. I like the over, guys. I think there's going to be a lot of points, especially since the Bears traded off Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith. I don't know who else they have that's going to be able to make an impact like they did. We saw against the Lions. It's probably nobody.
Over-under's at 49 right now, Blaine.
Ooh, give me the Bears. I don't think you go bad right here. We're taking a Bears money line bet. Just the way the Falcons been playing lately, and Justin Fields, who's a real life Ninja Turtle, the way his head shaped, is hilarious. I've been playing extremely well, but I would take him to cover to 3.5. Take the over in this game. Obviously, it's going to be a high over, but still, these teams are going to score points against each other. And I wouldn't mind a little Cordell Patterson anytime touchdown in this game. You're going to see that a lot in my bets. The only thing you got to be careful with the over-unders, the Bears are a 60-40 legitimate run-to-pass team.
Yep.
They're going to run the ball. They're going to keep running it. So I still like Bears to cover the spread. Even I would take them. I wouldn't be upset with taking the money line.
But yeah, I wouldn't worry about that though when Justin Fields is running 70 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, don't worry. I'm playing against them this week, so I'm sure I'll have the best week of his life. Yeah, I can't wait.
We got Cleveland. We got Cleveland Buffalo. This one got moved to Ford Field, boys.
Now, why am I not watching this in 8 feet of snow? Why does this not look like a James Bond movie right now? Like what? I hate it.
Why do you want this so bad? Why are you so heavy on this?
I have never seen an NFL. You know what? I watched highlights of the Ice Bowl back in the day and the frozen tundra and guys with last names like Italian, like Musso and Russo and Tortellini and Fettuccine running through 8 feet of snow.
Not 8 feet.
Why can't we have that? Why can't I have that? Like,
look, 6 feet. Look, even the tundra back in the day, or the ice blizzard, it wasn't 6 feet of snow.
The college kids would do it, Blaine.
What's that 6 feet of snow?
The college kids would do it.
No one wants to go out there and watch 6 feet of snow, guys.
No one wants to. It's not about what you want.
Game.
Everybody wants to watch that.
Nobody does.
In the NFL.
Okay? Nobody does. Nobody wants that. Hell, you're going to be running 30 yards to trying to run. You're going to look back. Dennis Quaid's going to be behind you, telling you have to get off the field and leave the city.
Well, you know what? If it happens, it happens. Thunder snow, sometimes it goes down like that. But we don't get chances to see this a ton. Like thunder snow. Think about that. Think about that. It's not flurries, not a blizzard. Thunder snow. What does that even mean? That sounds like a move that a Pokemon has. Like, what does that even mean?
Thunder snow.
Like, I just want to see it. But I like the Bills in this game. 7.5 is a big number for the NFL. I put the Bills as a money line winner in this parlay, which is going to be really tough for me to read, considering I'm doing the show off my phone today because my mic won't connect because the Russians are trying to get rid of me, which is fine. That's a compliment where I'm from. But if it was in the snow, I would have taken the under, obviously. But outside of that, outside of taking the Bills money line in the parlay, I'm not touching this game. Jacoby Brissett knows Deshaun Watson is coming, which means he's probably going to play good. And if I take the under, the Browns are going to find a way to score 24 points and really piss me off.
Yeah, if you wanted to go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was going to get to the next one. Do you have something else on that one, Blaine?
Oh, well, I'll say if you wanted to go see how this game would be, if they stay there, go outside and fall as many times as you can, just in a row. Just so slip and fall the entire time. That's what this game would be.
And guess what? You're not down.
And I'll do it.
You're not down until somebody touches you in the NFL.
Pay me an NFL salary, Blaine, and I'll do it.
Look, Dave, you make enough money, okay? All right. What do you make? What do you make? $2 million? $2 million a year, Dave?
Oh, well, then I quit.
Yeah.
Hey, Eagles at the Colts with the Fighting Jeff Sundays. Remember, he legally changed his name to Jeff Sunday, and that line is -6.5 Eagles right now, over under 44.5.
I literally want the Colts to win this game so bad just because of all the stuff that's going on.
Oh God, me
Saturday.
too.
Like I never thought I would cheer for the Colts in anything. But having said that, they're going to have to find a way to run the ball. And I know that Eagles have had problems stopping the run. But if I know that, they know that, they're going to try and emphasize it. Like Carnell Williams says, it's a great example. You get what you emphasize. So if the run game isn't working as well as it should, even though you got some big-time guys on the offensive line, can you throw it well enough to Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell and these guys to be able to score enough points? Because the Eagles are going to score. Okay, I know the Colts got a pretty good defense, but you're so beat up. Your best players, maniacs, out for the rest of the year. I'm not going to bet this game, but if I did, I would buy it up and take the Colts plus 7.5 at home. This could be a low-scoring, ugly game. I think the over-under, what was it, at 41?
That's at 44.5.
Oh, it's at 44.5.
And remember, the Eagles added Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I know they added Sue, which, again, the terminology for an interior defensive lineman, you can get things quicker. It's not like you're playing quarterback.
Yeah, it's called, hey, go stop him.
Yeah, this just smells like a 27-10 game. Like that 24-10, somewhere around there. I don't know if the Colts are gonna be able to score enough points.
Blaine, can the Colts keep it close or what?
No. One factor, I mean, I know, look, I'm a big Jeff Saturday guy. I think he will be the next head coach for the Colts.
Who's
Jeff
Jeff
Saturday?
Saturday?
From a talent standpoint, they're up there with the Eagles. I know you come off their first loss last week against the Washington Redskin Commanders, but the Eagles have been getting beat between the tackles. They add Ndamukong Suh. Jordan Davis will be back soon. And I think they're kind of pissed off in this game. And at the end of the day, the Colts your quarterback's still an old rickety Matt Ryan, who's just not the same guy, obviously falling off that cliff a little bit. So I like the Eagles to cover the 6.5. I think the under will be kind of sketchy. I don't know how many points the Colts can score really against this Eagles defense, one of the best secondaries in the NFL. So give me the Eagles to cover 6.5. Jalen Hurts, #Giants, man. I need you to put up a 40 piece.
Talking about Giants, Lions are at the Giants. New York's -3, and the over-under is 45.
I'm taking the Giants -2.5 at home. They find ways to win. They find ways to win. And I know it's a little bit dangerous with the Lions because Jared Goff, outside of looking like he's smuggling gumballs in his cheeks, actually he's had some pretty good games and seemed to kind of figured it out with Amon-Ra St. Brown getting healthy.
She's like smuggling gumballs?
It's a real Godfather situation.
No, I mean, look, it's literally, just look at it. I don't know another way to explain it to you. I can never trust him. But
yeah,
Swift,
every time you look at Jared Goff, it just looks like he's drooling.
Well, he looks like a cartoon to me, like on Hey Arnold.
He can throw the hell out of it though.
No, look, Jared Goff, look, the Lions, what they did to the Bears, it was absolutely crazy. But having said that, when I look at this game, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton stepped up. They're finding ways to do it. It blows my mind that the Giants can get rid of guys like Kadarius Toney and be better. You know, it just shows you what Brian Daboll, how good of a job that he's done. I like the Giants at home in the cold weather. The Lions, while, Dan Campbell, I hope it works out for him because I actually think he's a pretty good coach. But, man, I just don't see it. I like the Giants -2.5.
If you're looking for an anytime touchdown score, I think take Saquon Barkley there for the Giants.
-190, Dave.
Oh, -190. Yeah, well, that means
Vegas.
Vegas. That means Vegas. Yeah, Vegas knows.
So when I'm
one
doing
of
here,
those
like
games
one
where-
couple things, I'm thinking about one. Daniel Jones, he looks like Daniel Jones before the season, not like him in real life, but it's kind of heavy set. Next, he's taking pictures of himself. He's like 6 months in right now. He's starting to look a little bit better. But the thing about his Giants team, this Lions team, like DeAndre Swift, is he going to play? This was supposed to be your guy. This hadn't last 6 weeks. Or really hadn't played at all. I think he has 57 total snaps, which is not a lot. But I still like the Giants in this game to cover, man. The Giants are playing great football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Lions defense is terrible. Offense is somewhat okay. But I'm thinking Jamal Williams may be a little anytime touchdown here. Dave, what do you think?
I don't know about that. Maybe. They've
Hey,
been putting him down there at the goal line every time.
Yeah. All right, what's the next one?
All right, we got Commanders coming off that big win against the Eagles. They go to the Texans. That's Houston plus 3.5. The money line for a home dog is plus 140, over under 41.5.
Blaine, you got it.
Okay, yeah. I don't. Gosh, this is such a tough pick. You know what you have with Houston? Davis Mills, long neck, Kirk Cousins. Not really good in the red zone. Plus 142. I think it's always good to take a home dog. Washington Commanders coming off a high win against the Eagles, so they might be prepared to somewhat get upset a little bit and come back down to earth. But if it's me, I'm not touching this game. Either or, spread or over and under, because you never know these teams. Chase Young will not be coming back to the Commanders this week. I believe he's still on IR. Damian Pierce, get in the end zone one time. He'll have 27 carries for 130 yards and won't score. So this Texans-Commanders game, if anything, if I were to bet, guys, I'd take Houston money line.
Yeah, I'm treating this like another guy's wife. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
It's the Texans and Davis Mills. I'm very interested to see what the Texans do after the season. The Commanders and Taylor Heineke. You can't start. I know Carson Wentz has been hurt. There's no way with the way Taylor Heineke's playing that you can start Carson Wentz. There's just no way in hell. I mean, it's been a nice shot in the arm, and you're getting him for cheap. It's been a cool story to watch Taylor do it, especially beating the Eagles last week was huge for them as a franchise as well. So look, again, it is what it is. I'm not touching this game.
All right, Carolina's at Baltimore. I think Baker Mayfield is going to start for the Panthers. Boys, this line is Ravens minus 12.5. That's a little bit wild to me. Over under 41.5.
Yeah, again, that's a very high number for the NFL. I think there's going to be like 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts in Baltimore. It's not supposed to be as clean as possible. We know, look, the Ravens want to run the ball. The Panthers with Baker, since P.J. Walker has that high ankle, Baker did come in and they put some points on the board in the blowout against the Bengals. This is a game I'm kind of nervous to touch. It's one of those, well, do I want to take the Ravens and risk, the 12.5? That's a lot of points. I mean, Baker Mayfield is a quarterback we've seen that can put points up and keep it close enough to spoil that spread. The over-under at 41, I know the Panthers haven't been great offensively, but part of me thinks, the Ravens have a possibility to, be able to score over 24 points. And you look at the Panthers defense with Derek Brown that stepped up last week against the Falcons, I believe. So this is a game I probably wouldn't touch either, but if I was going to do it, I'd take the over.
Blaine?
Yeah, I don't think you'd be wrong in taking the over. Just one thing, how much can the Panthers score? Because you see the impact Roquan Smith already had last week when you watched. I think he made the first 4 plays. This kid's an absolute stud. If there's a bunch of win, you got to lean toward the Ravens. The Ravens want to do what? They want to run the hell out of the football. I mean, Panthers are just a mess right now. Defense is okay. Secondary, you have Derek Brown, but on offense, DJ Moore is really not getting involved as much as he should be. I mean, your running back situation is okay, but I think the Ravens right now play one of their best games of the seasons. I like the Ravens to cover, and I like the over in this game.
All right, let's rapid fire through this.
Jets at Patriots. Jets are plus 3.5.
Under. Who's going to score? Probably nobody.
The over-under is 38.
I know.
Give me the under.
Yeah, give me the under. We want to talk about Iowa and Minnesota? Here's the NFL version of it.
All right, here's an interesting one. Rams are at the Saints, all right, and Saints are minus 2.5. The over-under on that one is 39.5.
Yeah, obviously the Rams getting Stafford back is big, but you get Stafford back and you lose Cooper Kupp. I don't see, who's really going to step up, for the Rams and be able to ball. I'm sorry, Blaine, to bring it up, but I had to bring it up. I don't trust the Saints or the Rams, and I wouldn't trust a Ram if it was a Saint or a Saint if it was a Ram. So I'm not touching this game. Ooh, gross.
If DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play on Monday, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind, guys. I'm done. If he doesn't play, I'm done. I'm suing. I'm done.
You have such a good
I can't wait to watch
team,
Alvin Kamara to have 6 carries for 12 yards and Andy Dalton to blow the entire game. Give me the Rams, because why would you ever bet on the Saints to win?
I wouldn't.
Wow. All right. Raiders
Dennis
at
Allen. You got a better
Broncos.
chance with Tim Allen.
Raiders at Broncos. That's Denver minus 3, over under 41.
Another great game.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, what a great slate. The Raiders at the Broncos. Give me the under. I don't even know what it is. Just give me the under. Russell Wilson's talking to himself before the game, dropping back while doing high knees when nobody's looking and low knees when everybody's looking. What's the spread? What did you say the spread was, Cam?
The spread is Denver minus 3 and the over under is 41.
Oh, I hate both those numbers. Y'all are putting us right in between. Congrats, Vegas. You're going to keep 50-50 on this one. Not touching it. But if I had to, just give me the Broncos money line just because somebody has to win this game.
Russell Wilson's lame and Derek Carr's crying and pissed. So let's go. Give me. Is there an option C?
Death.
Yeah, you could just skip it.
Waterboarding. No, give me the Broncos money line because guys, if there's a game I don't bet in the NFL today, it's gonna be this one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. All right, a couple good ones to finish up though. Cowboys at the Vikings. Listen to this: Vikings plus 1.5 and plus 105 on the money line. Over under is 48.
What time's this game?
This game is at 4. It's the 3:05 game.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys.
No, perfect. That's right.
Give me the Cowboys. No, that's all I need to know. I don't need to hear anything else. If it's not a 12 o'clock game, Kirk Cousins is gonna be mid. Give me the Cowboys.
Kirk Cousins eats dinner at 4:30, so this is perfect. I love the Vikings here money line. Take the money line. Take everything you have, put it on the Vikings money line.
It's a trap.
Hold on. I said the Vikings are going to have a better year than the Cowboys. They're 8-1. Cowboys 6-3. Both having a good year. Cowboys got a little bit what? Little TMZ. Girls Gone Wild exposed last week against the Packers. All right, now you're going here to play Minnesota with Kirk, not mid Cousins, and Justin Jefferson, who's one infinity stone away from snapping his fingers and having the people in the universe disappearing. All right, Adam Thielen's got to step up. But what did I say all week? Feed the ball to Dalvin Cook. When it matters, give it to Dalvin Cook. He's a home run hitter. He's Aaron Judge. He's everything that can take the Vikings to that next level so you don't have to keep coming back to win games. It's got to be exhausting. I'm not even a Vikings fan, and I'm exhausted when I get done watching them play. I can only imagine how they feel. I like the Vikings at home, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, bring the noise. Let's go pillage the village, fellas.
Pillage the village. All right, Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. A little rematch from the opener this year. Steelers plus 3.5, over under 39.5.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals minus 2.5. I got it down. I hate 3.5.
That's what I have.
Joey B going on the road. Look, I like Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, George Pickens, that combo. Fryer Moose, a little sneaky, churns his own butter, doesn't use technology, playing tight end. I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to score enough points. Getting TJ Watt back is obviously huge with what they're doing. But Joe Mixon, I know Jamar Chase is still out, right?
Yes.
Jamar Chase is still out. You still got Higbee. You still got Tyler Boyd. You've got enough weapons to be able to score enough points to beat the Steelers in a rivalry game on the road. I know it's tough. These games always get super weird. So at the end of the day, it just is what it is.
Blaine?
Yeah, I would take the Bengals in this game. One, I think the Steelers, if I'm the Steelers, I'm stopping the first thing. I'm stopping Joe Mixon. I'm gonna make Joey beat me outside without his number one, Jamar Chase. I know he has T. Higgins. I know he has Boyd. I know he has Hayden Hurst. He still does have weapons out there. But I'm gonna take away that run game first. I'm not gonna touch this game. I believe this is on the road for the Bengals. You're at the Ketchup Stadium or whatever it's called. I can't remember the change it to
Heinz Field. You mean?
But I wouldn't mind putting a little money on Steelers money line here.
What? All right, last one, night game.
Sausage
Andy
party.
Reid and the Chiefs go to the Chargers. Chargers plus 5.5, plus 180 on the money line.
Supposedly.
Don't say it.
Is
Don't.
going to play.
Don't. No, he's not. He's not going to play. He's definitely not going to play. Put
Keenan
all
Allen?
the money you have. He'll
There's
get
still
off the
time
plane
for
and
a
twist
setback.
his ankle.
There's still time for a setback. All right?
Yeah, I don't know what movie it was, Jake. We watched this together. I don't know if it was like a scary movie. You remember the football player that'd go out there and always tear his ACL? His name was Aceel Terry. That's what his name was on the movie. But he would always go out there and find a way to get hurt. Keenan, this is the only thing I'm asking you, man. All right, I don't ask for a lot. All right, I really don't. I like simple things in my life. I'm a routine guy. But for the love of everything holy, will you play a game of football this year? Just one, Dave. Just one. He played one quarter, got 10 points, and now his hammy's been hurt for the rest of the year. You didn't even pull it. You tweaked it. All right. I mean, Justin Fields is in there taking grenades.
He got that honey
He's
bake.
taking
I
grenades,
think
John.
he should sit out, make sure he gets healthy, get Austin
I
Eckler a little
hope
more
God.
involved.
I can't wait to shoot you with a paintball gun.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
that's
wait.
happen.
I go,
It's
no, I
never
don't want to
gonna
hear
happen.
it. I don't want to
It's
hear
never
it.
gonna
After I waited
happen
3 weeks to get pied in the face.
Blaine's in charge of the logistics, which
Yeah,
means it's
it'll
never
never
going to happen.
I don't want to hear this. Don't
Blaine is the
timetable
Pete
me.
Buttigieg
Don't
of
timetable me after what happened with that pie.
We got the pie made, and you got pie.
Don't worry. I'm getting a custom paintball gun made. All right, a Booster Club custom paintball gun made that shoots harder than any paintball gun ever made.
Yeah, well,
And I'm aiming for the back of your thighs, buddy.
Oh, great. Love it.
You're gonna Keenan Allen him?
Love it.
Huh?
Can't
Don't
wait.
worry.
Back
If
to
Keenan
the
Allen
thighs,
doesn't play, he's
hamstring.
next.
Talking about ninja focus.
Yeah, for sure.
Not gonna hurt me, Blaine.
All right, let's hit the chat before we get out of here.
Yeah, let's get
Like,
these donations going. Let's go to Garrett Flores, $2 donation. Late, but told y'all TCU is better than Tennessee. I still don't think they are.
Gary, appreciate you showing up, buddy. I'm gonna. I don't know. I think that'd be a hell of a game. Maybe if TCU loses, we can see it in the bowl game.
Emmanuel C says Kirk Cousins is still 8-1 with the Vikings. The Vikings are loaded, but someone still has to play quarterback effectively. Don't get me started. All right. Don't get me started. Don't. You know, deep down, you know, when you were typing that, you know, well, I'm just going to piss Blaine off because I know he's mid. He's mid. Okay.
He's not mid.
The guy is mid. I could play quarterback for the Vikings. We probably have 2 losses. I'm going to be honest. We probably lost to the Bills.
At least 3.
Darby Loon Cone says while Baby Cone paintballs Blaine. No, how about me and Baby Cone join together to shoot paintballs at his dad.
Mega Ranger this thing.
No.
Let's
Not
go
gonna turn my
to
son against me.
Travis Elrod says, by the way, I've enjoyed the discussion we were having today. That was fun. I don't know why y'all still arguing about that. # build a bridge and let's get over this. Texas Ed says at Jake, if Kirk Cousins throws 2 interceptions against the Cowboys, will you publicly apologize for calling Kirk not mid?
No.
No.
Why do y'all like Kirk
the
Cousins?
way I
This
was-
is
the way I was
weird,
brought-
man. Y'all get on this
I don't
weird
like Kirk
y'all-
Cousins. He went to Michigan State. I
It
don't
was
like Kirk
David with
Cousins. I'm just
Russell
acknowledging-
Wilson. Now it's you two with Kirk Cousins. It's just
Wait.
it's almost like I'm turning on just the Fox News channel and they're doing with that lady up there
I
on the
missing
podium. Doesn't
something?
matter what it is.
Am I
It's like,
missing-
well,
are
the
the
sky's
Vikings
blue
not
outside.
8-1
Well,
right now?
in
Did
our
they not just go on the road and beat the
administrations,
Bills?
we cleared this guy up 2%. Kirk Cousins is mid, fellas.
What am I missing here?
A lot of things, David.
The Vikings
I
not
just-
8-1.
again.
A lot of
8-1.
things.
8-1. 8-1. Somebody
Okay,
said that-
8-1. 8-1. And what has Kirk Cousins done in his career?
What Kirk Cousins has done?
Yeah.
More than Baker Mayfield. Who
Baker Mayfield.
in love with. You would
See, this is how I know, right? At no point did I say Baker Mayfield was better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I believe you
Yeah,
did.
you
did.
on
That's
the
cap.
show
Yeah, you
one
did.
time.
Yeah, you did.
They're both
Exactly.
right here.
No, they're
Maybe
not.
Kirk's a little
That's
bit
the
better.
problem. You think
A
that
little
they're
bit
right
better?
here? One
Right
of them just
here.
got beat out by PJ Walker. The other one's 8-1. They're right here.
Yeah.
What do you got against PJ Walker, Dave?
Dude, shut up. Boy.
What do you got against
That's the
PJ
definition
Walker?
of mid.
Yeah, put
Nobody's
Kirk
got
Cousins on the
anything against him.
Panthers.
You didn't know who PJ Walker was. There was
Kirk
better
Cousins
than-
on the. If you switch Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins, all right, Kirk would be terrible on the Panthers. Terrible. And Baker would be just as good as Kirk Cousins on the Vikings.
Okay, well, guess what? I'm not dealing in hypotheticals that haven't happened yet.
Yeah, I don't have anything against PJ
It's kinda
Walker.
fun. You should
I
do
wouldn't know who PJ Walker was if he handed me a business card and says my
That's
name's PJ
ex-
To
Walker.
be
Yeah.
honest,
PJ
David,
Walker.
I couldn't hear a word you just said
Well, then
in
you
my
need to get that
earpiece, but it
fixed.
sounded about PJ Walker, and I didn't really like the tone. All right, so why'd you?
You know what? Can we just go ahead and just kick Blaine out here?
Yeah, just
Bets?
Bets. Let's get
All
to.
right,
I got
let's
some
get to
bets
bets.
today.
Where
Let's
did he
do it.
go? There he is.
Chill out, Mark.
All right,
Oh,
let's
he's
get to
gone.
bets. Y'all read y'all's because I got my phone that's on the screen. I'm gonna
All right, here we go. I chose violets with my picks yesterday. Went 2-4. Did hit the Auburn though, Blaine. I hit that Auburn pick.
Attaboy.
TCU
Congrats.
money line pick.
Yeah, I love it.
Look,
Love
I'm
it
going
when
to
you
take the
hit
Bills. Bills minus 5.5. That's minus 169 on
Mhm.
DraftKings. Giants money line plus the Bills money line. That's minus 102. I'm going to go ahead and take Colts and Jeff Sunday there plus 7.5. That's
Nice.
minus 137. Vikings money line. You know
Attaboy.
why, Blaine? They can get the job done. That's why. Okay, that's plus 105. Bengals, I got the same thing. Bet buds here with Jake. Bengals minus 2.5 on the road at the Steelers. That's minus 143. Then I'm going to finish things off with a nice little 4-game parlay here. All money line.
Ooh.
I need the Ravens Vikings, Bengals, and Chiefs to all win. That's plus 380.
Cone, wait till you see my bet. We're very similar to
Let's
that.
go. Let's
You
hear
said the
it.
Vikings, Chiefs.
14 parlay. Vikings, Ravens, Bengals, and Chiefs. Plus 330, plus 388.
I like that. Blanye.
Am I up? Because I definitely want to change one of my bets now. But I won't. Okay? I won't because I'm not going to do that. All right. First bet, 2-team parlay, fellas.
Didn't you? You picked the Vikings, didn't you?
No.
Yes. That's
No, I
exactly
didn't.
right. Yeah.
Can I say my bets?
Fake news.
Fake news. Hey, Trump's back on Twitter too, fellas. How about that?
Oh, God, I know.
Bills,
go.
Browns over 40.5, and the Pats and Jets under 38.5. Just going off of a dirty plus 160. All right. They give me the Bears plus 5.5. I mean, give me Justin Fields in that gigantic dome of a head. Give me Vikings, Cowboys over 45.5. That's minus 170. That's my Vikings pick. Give me Philly minus 3. I think it's minus 180. I can't believe Matt Ryan can still walk. All right, give me Jamal Williams anytime touchdown plus 130, just so I can not play DeAndre Swift and feel a lot better about it when Jamal Williams gets the ball every time they get inside the 20.
Nice.
Dan Campbell, how do you still have a job? Hashtag get out.
Good.
And then give me Cordell Patterson anytime touchdown minus 115 because this dude always scores. He always scores. Every game I watch Cordell Patterson play and he scores. So that means he won't this time. But hey, 4-2 yesterday. Hit a couple 2-team parlays. I can't wait to see what the standings looks like. I just need to be in the running lane.
What did you go yesterday overall, Blaine?
4-2.
Yesterday. That's what I went. What'd you go, Cone?
I went 2-4, and Baby Cone went 4-2.
Nice. Okay. Not a bad day at the office, fellas. Not a bad
I
day.
chose 5 of my 6 were underdog bets, and I hit one of them. And
no, I
and
saw
then
you. Look, you went for gold. Nobody will get mad at you going for gold.
Yeah, I chose violence, man.
Hashtag big respect. Hashtag don't trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't trust it.
Hashtag don't respect. All right. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. We're going live tomorrow. I got some great guests lined up for this week. Tom Luganville going to get Cole Kubick on as well. Talk a lot of college football, NFL, tons going on in the sports world. World Cup tomorrow. It starts tomorrow against Wales. We're playing against Wales, not Goldfish, not anything else. We're playing against Wales. Gareth Bale, I know he's good at soccer, but I believe, damn it. I believe, all right? And it starts tomorrow in Qatar. Let's go get after it, fellas.
Is there any Maction
Dave,
on?
how you going to have fun watching that, Dave?
Is there any Maction on? I'd rather watch Kent State and Bowling Green.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and stare into the woods because I'd rather watch that than watch that soccer game.
Didn't the cops say you couldn't do that anymore?
No, that's only playgrounds. Calm down.
No, that was Tanner.
That
They said that to Tanner.
Woods.
Okay, that's a different personality of his.
Yeah,
I'm not allowed to be 300 feet close to a snowball machine. Don't ask why.
All right. Well, make sure you check us out. Follow us on all social media: TikTok, Instagram, Face, Snap, Book, whatever else. Check us out. We go live every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern on YouTube, the Daily Wire Plus. Go check it out. We'll be back tomorrow, and like the chances of North Carolina making the playoff, we're going. Gone.